Yeah, I'm a little, I need to adjust the timer. I did not adjust it for my new intro. You are true, Common Pepe. But here we are, actually live now, and let's get to it. I've got a few replays to get through. I actually totally didn't even download them yet, so let me just quickly get those in here. Got one of the quarterfinal rounds done already between Crabling and Samurai Warriors, so we're going to get those replays in real quick, and then we'll go on to the other rounds. They should be pretty close to done, I believe, but yeah, I'll go ahead and double check in just a moment. Let's do these two first, though. Go ahead and switch back over to this for just a moment, and this one loaded in. Alright. Welcome back, everyone. Good to see you all again. Yeah, a lot of people came back. Not quite. Yeah, 130 people's already back on. Definitely great to see. People will be trickling back in, no doubt, as we go along. But here we are. Crabling versus Samurai. Round 1. Chaos versus Empire, which we have seen a couple times already. Karl Franz leading the way. And, yeah, for the Chaos side, we've got Kolek, some champs, or not champs. They're much better than champs, actually. Chaos Warriors with great weapons. Basically champs, but like 300 points cheaper. Yeah, they've got Weird Spawn here. Similar build to what we saw before. Death Sorcerer, some Koleks. I mean, Koleks. Yeah, no mini Koleks, unfortunately, but we do have Marauder Horsemen. On the Empire side, we've got Karl Franz, the big boy, Pistoliers, Great Swords, some Halberds, Jade Wizard, Empire Knights, Demigryph Knights with Halberds. Interesting. No Lance Demis, interestingly enough. Excuse me. The air quality here is terrible. Beautiful day, unseasonably warm, which is kind of worrying, but the air quality is abysmal right now because of the fires. But anyway, we'll press on. The Great Sword's kind of lining up in front here. Pistoliers doing a little bit of skirmishing. Nice Spirit Leech there on those Demigryph Knights with Halberds. That will chew away a few models. Probably would have been wise to just keep them hidden back in the woods to keep them from getting Spirit Leeched. But as it is right now, the Great Swords will trade okay with Chaos Warriors. Without buffs, with buffs, they will win pretty decisively, but there's no Warrior Priest here. Again, a lot of the Empire play today I've seen, not that I want to talk bad about these players, you know, no disrespect, but from an Empire main's perspective, they're missing some things, and primarily the use of Warrior Priests and Volkwar is not something I have seen a whole lot of today. Here, it would have been really nice as an anti-infantry option. And likewise, the Lance Demis versus the Halberd Demis is a discussion that I've had a few times on this channel, but most people still seem to think the Halberd Demis are the go-to, whereas I'm a much bigger fan of the Lance Demis, personally. But here, the Demigryph Knights are going to charge in to countercharge the Weird Spawn. Very nicely done. Kolek also kind of pulls up in this location, trying to decide where he wants to go. The Weird Spawn mashing on those Great Swords will be pretty effective. Empire Knights collapse the flank as well as Karl is fleeing from some Forsaken and Javelins and stuff. Not in a position to dive in and support the Demis, and a very nicely placed Lightning Strike from Kolek does some nice damage to the Demis. They're going to pull away there. Meanwhile, over on this flank, things are going a little bit better for the Empire. I say a little bit better, but actually Forsaken, they eat some charges. They're going to take some damage, but they're trading okay with the Javelin support there against those Empire Knights. So yeah, back to the front line. Karl dives in. We're going to get a regrowth on these Demigryph Knights. However, that does mean that Karl, he does not have regrowth available for some time, right? So Kolek's going to probably turn around here, yep, and just go Pound Town, Spirit Leech immediately on Karl, because again, you know that regrowth is on cooldown, and it was not an overcast regrowth either, which probably should have been regardless. But then Karl starts to take serious damage. Galmaraz's been popped, but he takes like 3 giant hits from Kolek, and that's going to make a pretty decisive difference here. Balance of power slightly in Chaos' favor at this point, but things are definitely still winnable for the Empire. These Pistoliers kind of just hanging back in the backline, though. Looks like they're probably trying to shoot the Weird Spawn, I would imagine. Definitely would be a solid target for them to shoot at. But Empire Knights kind of overextending into the backline here, trying to get at those Marauder Horsemen. The issue is the infantry fight. Like I said, these Great Swords will do okay. They'll beat these Chaos Warriors with great weapons here with some support. Like in this fight, none of these were necessarily clean one-on-one engagements, but the attack buffs of the Warrior Priest are so essential, and not only that, but the defense, too, of that damage resistance is so powerful. It's an insanely powerful ability. To not have any access to that, in my opinion, as an Empire player, again, no disrespect to these guys, but I would absolutely say that's a mistake. You always want a Warrior Priest, like literally always. There's no reason to not have at least one Warrior Priest in every single Empire build. Excuse me. But, yeah. Yeah, fun stuff. Carl's going to dive back down in here, try and finish off some of these weird spawn, but Kolek is in the area, and he's completely healthy, still just wheels around. Crabling is really good at dodging flying lore charges, from what we've seen as well. He was able to do that quite effectively in a previous series. Yeah, Kolek there dodges Carl's attack. Carl just goes down to the Spirit Leech, and that's going to be a serious blow to the Empire. Obviously, the Great Swords will still attempt to hold out, but Terror quickly pops in and takes hold, and as the Jade Wizard especially takes a few attacks here, that will pretty much trigger army losses instantly. So there you go. And that's a wrap. Tough draw. Like I said, no disrespect to Han Samurai, but this build, it has some issues. No Volkmar, no Warrior Priest, right? Either of those two. I mean, there is an argument to be made for Franz here, and I think that's definitely a strong choice. But a Warrior Priest, I think, would have been great. Like, you just trade these halberds out. You trade the demis down for lances. You trade the halberds out for spearmen with shields, and that probably gives you enough to take a Warrior Priest. I'd have to do the math and check. But just a Warrior Priest on a horse with, like, even, you don't necessarily have to take the 3 abilities that are common, which is the hammer, the shield, and the soulfire. You can only take, one of those 3. Preferably you want all of them. But the soulfire in this matchup is not quite so necessary. You could maybe cut that one. I would certainly stick with the attack and damage resistance buffs. But, whoops, a little bit of a spoiler alert there, but that's fine. Meant to switch around the screen, but we're back now. Crabling Game 2 versus Han Samurai. Looks like, yeah, similar build to what we saw again before with Crabling. Very straightforward High Elves. You've got Spearmen, Archers, Dragon Princes, a Star Dragon, and a Lariel, and that's it, right? That's it. Very straightforward. Han Samurai, interesting build, I have to say. Not the War Cart, the Scream Tank, as I like to call it, the Medusa Cart, is quite good here. Maybe. I don't know. It's not that great of a unit in general, in my opinion. It does have some Executioners, Black Ark Corsairs, Cold One Knights, and Scourge Runner Chariots as well. So, I mean, a lot of strong elements definitely to this Dark Elf army. Looks like Supreme Sorceress of Dark Magic. This Hag Chariot's an interesting one, though, because in theory, like, High Elves don't have great AP, right? 80 AP, 5,000 HP. It's going to be a decent monster for detonating models on a lower model count army. I'm not 100% sure that this thing is ever going to be super competitive. Unfortunately, when they changed the collision attacks for the way the Dark Elf Chariots work, like, you see these little hags here? You see these little witch elves that are standing on the side? So previously, these fine ladies, they would throw daggers, and those daggers would actually deal damage, like the full damage of the cart, which they're not necessarily supposed to. Now, they don't deal any damage. It's literally just a for fun animation. But what that means in practice is that the damage of all of the carts went significantly down, and as a result, they're basically useless now. I mean, they were fairly useless before. There were a few patches where they were pretty strong because those animations were kind of broken, but now they're just kind of useless in many aspects, like Hellebron, Witch Elf, the Death Hag, I mean, the Medusa, all of the chariots. The Medusa is the best because she can kind of still shoot while she's in melee, but anyway. The Dragon Princes get a nice countercharge here on these Cold One Knights who would come into some Spearmen anyway. The Hargonath Executioner is also just getting ridiculously focus fired by all of the bows here. Cold One Knights are going to try and get a charge here, but... oh yeah, that's nasty. The Elf Dovahkiins here, the Fireborn, they're not going to take much damage on that countercharge at all and just hammer home on the Cold One Knights. So, looking pretty good so far. Balance power is still pretty even, though, as the Star Dragon has taken a lot of damage over here. I say it's not good to fight the cart, and somehow this thing has died, probably mostly from the Scourge Runners, but the Scream Tank might have something to do with it as well. A little bit of healing sustain there. Unfortunately, the Star Dragon routes away from it, but Alariel stuffs herself in there, along with the Dragon Princes. At the very least, you're getting value on that, on the Dragon Princes, which is nice. Definitely an expensive unit. And with that Faust protection, they were able to tank out for quite a while there, and even still tanking out. Very impressive. But yeah, Dark Elves now making a push. It seems on the balance of power fading slightly against the High Elves, even almost decisively so, as the Star Dragon continues to rout. The Sorceress was able to keep it routing, but now it comes back there, starting to stabilize things a little bit. The Archers, likewise, and the Dragon Prince is also taking some nasty damage. So, yeah, not out of this yet. Definitely making a very, very good push here. The Dark Elves trying their best to finish things off. Unfortunately, the Star Dragon back is pretty decisive because it can now do exactly this. Park up top, VTOL breath straight down, and then give a quick charge, get Alariel's second star up at some point. Even just upgraded Faust protection, though, will give extra armor and melee defense up to 74 melee defense. A giant hard-hitting monster with 74 melee defense is ridiculous. Most of these units are going to be at minimum hit chance against. In fact, pretty much all of them, I think, will be minimum hit chance against that Star Dragon with that Faust protection active. So, really good use of a very underrated spell. Soul Stealer pops. That will finish off many of the Dragon Prince. It's going to do some okay damage to the Star Dragon and Alariel. Also, things are still looking mostly in favor of the Dark Elves here. But, yeah. The Scourge Runner Chariots kind of pulling through, doing some nice cleanup operations on those archers. Alariel and the Star Dragon are still fighting, though. I mean, with Alariel, our Alariel's in many ways kind of like Harkon. Like, if she's still on the field, anything is possible. Not quite to the degree of Harkon, but she's not as good of a melee sniper. But, like, speaking of snipe, potentially getting the Supreme Sorceress out of here would be absolutely massive. Alariel comes down, hooks the shrine in melee, kind of baits it in so it doesn't escape, and now the dragon steps on it. Potentially going to chase it off? No, actually, it holds its leadership together, and now the dragon and Alariel must pop the star. Star is off cooldown. This could bring it back, honestly, by itself, though. In the Dark Elf situation, what you'd want to do is just literally, like, cut out of this engagement with all of your units and just, like, run away from the star. See if you can pull either of these units out of the area of effect, which currently looks like Alariel experiencing the bug might still be getting healed by it. No, actually. Yeah, so a little bit of a rough situation there. Like, pushing them out of that area of effect is exactly what the Dark Elves needed, but even still, Alariel's up to her healing cap. The Star Dragon's not too far away, so do the Scourge Runners actually have enough ammo? Well, probably not. They just used the last of it right there. And some archers also coming back. Look at the Dovahkiin as well. Fireborn come in, get a nice charge, dismantle one of the Scourge Runner chariots, and they're going to kind of bail out the Star Dragon, potentially allow him to get back up in the air by knocking up the mass of the Scourge Runners. So great job in the late game by the Fireborn there. Star Dragon's up to, just comes in and just KOs, hard KO on the Supreme Sorceress there. Just like that, the High Elves are kind of back in the driver's seat. Dark Elves get a big old chain terror route here. Only some Corsairs still holding out some chariots over on the low ground, but, I mean, losing the Lord like that was a pretty big deal. Yeah, that was very impressive. Nice back and forth game, and this series easily could have gone to 3 games, but Crabling able to probably secure the win here. Unless the Dark Elves can really do something crazy and bring it back, but all their power is wrapped up in these melee units that the Star Dragon can cycle charge and maybe has one more breath if I do my mental math. I don't know. I haven't really been counting the breaths, to be honest. But, yeah. Yeah, that was a nom-nom if I've ever seen one by the dragon. Now steps on the Executioners. Yeah, Alariel jumps down also. All these Corsairs, leadership's very, very low. Dragonborn still fighting. Look at that. I love that little, like, wedge of 5 of them just diving in. Lances couched. Man, Shock Cavalry are the coolest. Just saying. Just saying. Might be biased, but Shock Cavalry are the coolest. As God is my witness, she is broken in half. Yeah, exactly. Broke her in half, and with that, that'll be a win. Very well done by Crabling. That was looking like a really bad situation, but obviously Alariel, like I said, with her on the field, you can be down, but she's never out. As long as she's still got some healing left. Bring things back. And credit to Samurai there. Played it very well, despite what I feel is kind of a strange build. He made it work. Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe I'll have to rethink my thoughts about some of this. I mean, I think misusing the Cold One Knights ended up costing him in the late game. That extra anti-large AP could have made the difference in cleaning up the Dovahkiins and also the Star Dragon as well, and Malariel herself probably, but kind of got sacrificed into the Dragon Princes there. But good stuff. Let's go ahead and check. Let me just switch this back over here, and let's have a look at the rest of the games. So Energized versus Crabling, they are going in the semis. So let me get Energized replays. Get those in here, and we'll watch those as the next few get through their battles. Excellent. And here we are. Next quarterfinal. I guess I could probably put the scoreboards up, but it's fine. I won't worry about it. I went through all that work to get like the graphic and you know, the bracket and stuff. Maybe we'll update that in between so you guys can get a little bit of the tail of the tape. But Energized versus Svertrazum. I apologize. Svertrazum. Yes, we'll go with that. Svertrazum. Hopefully I'm not butchering that too badly. Lizardmen versus Dwarfs here. Very interesting matchup, potentially. I think it's pretty even, maybe slightly Dwarf favored, but going off of the Lizardmen's build here, we've got Gorok on foot, some Croxies, Skink Priest, Lore of Beasts, Saurus Warriors with shields, some Red Crests as well. Nice wide kind of target overload mentality here with tons of infantry, the Skinks on the flanks to sweep up and around, maybe engage some Slayers, maybe engage some artillery crews. Pterodons also great tools for countering Gyrocopters, which they are now doing. Speaking of gyros, we've got 4 in total. Brimstone gun, I think, and Brimstone gun. So 4 Brimstone guns in total. We've got 2 Thunderers, a couple of Iron Breakers, Grombrindle the White Dwarf, Miners, some Dwarf Warriors, and 2 Slayers, including, of course, the Dragonbacks. And that's that for builds. As I mentioned, the Pterodon's kind of countering the Gyrocopter's, not necessarily doing tons of damage to them, doing a pretty decent amount, all things considered, but mostly just screening very effectively, like keeping them from getting free shots on the Croc scores and so forth. So that's pretty good stuff there. Lizardman definitely patiently approaching in the surround here. Croc scores will want to try and get through to the guns as quickly as possible, or just at least avoid taking focus fire, but right now the guns are focused on trying to bail out the Gyrocopters. This is kind of an issue if you do have gyros, and your ground fire units have to support up into the air. They're not shooting these Croc scores or anything else, right? And a nice drop rock of Tepok there, going on the Thunderers. That's going to do some really, really nice damage. And blasting charges as well, wrecking the Saurus pretty well, although the Croc scores, again, are of major danger. Also, the Manticore Summon being used as well at this point. It's a lot of push on the Dwarfs. Sorry, my cat is kind of distracting me right now. Anyway, we'll push through. Thunderers do get a pretty good volley there, and the Gyros are finally able to get free and get cracking against the Pterodons, kind of finish them off. So things are starting to turn around a little bit for the Dawi, but have they done it in time? A lot of these ground forces are just getting completely mulched here, including the Iron Breakers, just absolutely stepped on by Crocsgores, inundated by Skinks, and the Dwarfs very quickly going to throw in the towel there. So that's that. Pretty quick one. Energized came in with a nice strong build, and the gyro play, I definitely see what he was going for there, but I just don't think it was enough. I mean, maybe it's not enough, rather, but too much gyros. And the Pterodons ended up just being so effective as a result, zoning out a good majority of the army, and they just really didn't get effective work done. But yeah, let's go ahead and switch this, and we'll load in the next one. You guys probably saw it already, but here we go. So now we're going with a very interesting High Elf build. Energized got a fun Chaos build too. I like the Chaos Knights with Lances. That's not a pick you see super often, but I like the idea against elves because they do so much shock damage. I mean, they have, what, like 80 charge bonus? And also they're a lot of armor, decent stats, and maybe not amazing. Let me actually look here. Yeah, 34 is okay. Considering they don't have healing, that's not great. But just in general, having the Chaos Knights here with the high shock damage, I like the idea of that against the Elves. He's also got the Hell Cannon, which is going to make its presence felt right off the bat. Bunch of Marauder Horsemen, some Chaos Marauders, Chaos Sorcerer, Lore of Death. And yeah, on Alariel's side, her, the Star Dragon, bunch of Reavers, some Silver Helms, and Dragon Princes, and there's one Spearman way in the back there. So it's an all-Cav Elf build. I have seen this occasionally, but I don't know if I've ever seen it work against Warriors of Chaos. It's kind of an odd one, but nonetheless, here we go. At this point, so in case you guys are wondering, if you've ever run into a player like this on ladder, or in quick battles, or even in tournaments or whatever, if someone's playing this style, this is exactly what you need to do. Is just form up, stay tight, don't get drawn out of position, stay tight to your artillery and your ranged units, just counterfire them as much as possible. And in the meantime, Alariel's just getting wrecked by the Hell Cannon. The Star Dragon definitely should have flown over there a minute ago and tried to get a breath, but you see how he's screening very nicely with the Javelins? I mean, the Star Dragon has 80 armor, which is pretty good, but it's still only, quote-unquote, 80. And you see how he actually dismounts the crew there so that the Star Dragon can't breath attack the artillery piece itself and blow it up. Quick hit and run here from these Dragon Princes is going to be met by Kolek taking out a few models. And, I mean, they can chew on Marauders all day. That is totally fine. Here, nice side charge from these Dragon Princes getting the Chaos Knights. But with that 120 armor, Chaos Knight's not going to take too much damage from that. They can turn around and kind of punch back decently well. Yeah. Yeah, right? You like the Hell Cannon shot? It's kind of zoning in. Hell Cannons, I'm not sure exactly how the homing works, if it's the same as Doom Divers, but in theory, Doom Divers are, like, very good anti-air specialists. And I don't know if the Hell Cannon necessarily has the same profile. I think it has a little bit harder time hitting units in the air, but it could potentially be used in a similar fashion. Although Star Dragon now drops down, and it looks like, yeah. High Elf's going to throw in the towel there, so Energize with a quick 2-0. He moves on to face Crabling, so let's see if their lobby is up yet. Let me go ahead and take a look. Let's do this. Jump in here. And here we go. Okay, so it looks like this is already in progress. So, yeah, maybe... You know what, actually? I'm gonna go ahead and, let's do this. We'll just stay in here. I might have them send me that other replay and I can cast it. But we'll stick in this since this is an actual semi-final round. Let me put up the stream here. So if we go ahead and have a look at the bracket, which I totally did not update correctly. It's not all Killerinu, in fact. But, let's see. So, Samurai. Versus... Hold on. Yes. Crabling. Definitely should have had this. This is one of the things I was trying to get done in between. So I actually ended up running out of time because I was stuffing my face full of food, interestingly enough. But there's Crabling, so he actually prevailed and moved on, right? And Crabling versus Energize is who we've got right now. Speaking of which, Energize should go in this slot right here. And so he also moves on to face Crabling, right? That's where we're at right now. Also, shout out to Killerinu, awesome player. This just happened to be the name that I copied and pasted a bunch of times. So Sverch Razum. I'm going to continue to butcher that. My apologies. He gets eliminated there. And then as for the rounds currently in progress, we've got Puggington. Puggington versus Guac. We saw a little bit of Guac earlier. Definitely loving his builds. And then, yes, super professional here, I promise. We've got Faust versus Aaron. Aaron. So there we go. There's the bracket for the quarters. We're already past couple, and we're in this semifinal between Crabling and Energized. So we're going to be jumping between rounds again a little bit, but there we go. Tail of the tape. So let's get the scoreboard up. Where is it? It's here somewhere. Here we go. And we've got, yeah. Oh, guys, I'm so good at this. Yeah, Energized, that was correct. Energized versus Crabling. Okay. So I'll have to double check with them what the score was. It's 1-0, I think, for Crabling, I want to say. But anyway, go into the builds here as they are already getting started. Lizardmen versus Norska. Now, this is a pretty interesting matchup, one that we've seen quite a few times recently. For the Norskin build, Mammoth, as I would expect, Norskin, yeah, Wolfric on a Mammoth, Norskin Ice Trolls. I've been seeing more of them lately. I'm not that big of a fan, especially against Solar Engines. But Marauders, we've got some Hunters with Throwing Axes, Icehorn Marauders, some Berserkers as well. Decent infantry line. This Shaman Sorcerer Lore of Death, though, already got blasted for Crabling pretty bad. On the Lizardman side, we've got Croc must have been Hand of the Gods there. Temple Guards, some Saurus as well. We've got a Solar Engine, some Hunting Packs, and Lizard Cav in the back with some appropriate supporting Skinks. So yeah, good stuff. So I'll go ahead and just update the scores real quick while that initial engagement gets underway. Go ahead and pop the scores up. Definitely not 2-4. It is in fact, I believe, 0-1 for Crabling. So yes, we'll have a look at that replay later on as well. But good stuff so far. Temple Guards getting engaged in the front line, not taking too much damage from the Berserker charge there, although the Throwing Axes definitely making their presence felt. Meanwhile, in the monster fight over here, Wolfric kind of gets a little bit caught out on the other side of his infantry support. Likewise, the Ice Trolls are having a really tough time against that Solar Engine, just getting their models blasted away. They're already down a full model, which granted is not that much. They've still got plenty of healing cap space left, but they do get terrified quite easily as well. I mean, they are just trolls. They're loaded leadership, obviously. The Ice Wolves get in the back here, but nicely done countercharging with the Cold One Spear Riders. Energized is able to catch them and keep this Solar Engine fresh and clean. That being said, Crockar doesn't have any healing, right? So he's got to be a little bit careful, just like Wolfric. And Salamander's making their presence felt with the Throwing Axes. Man, Throwing Axes weren't quite able to win that frontline engagement as a Manticore summon drops down. Way out in this low ground, too, we've got Doggos and Marauders, probably about equivalent cost to these Cold One Spear Riders, holding them off. So that's an even trade right there for both players. Cold One Spear Riders probably lose that fight, though, so maybe it's an advantage for Norska ever so slightly. The real critical engagements are going to be other parts of the battle, though, as Crockar takes on Wolfric. Scroll of Shielding active on him. And yeah, let's take a look at two heavyweights, two super strong combatants going toe-to-toe here. Tail Slaps versus Tusk Whips. Over here, the Trolls again getting routed. I'm really not a fan of the Trolls at all, but the Throwing Axes have made their presence felt. 17 kills, 16 kills, maybe not actually that impactful at the end of the day, but they do have shield breakers, so those Temple Guards essentially get no missile block chance. Wolfric and Crockar are trading pretty decently at this point because the blind effect from the Solar Engine's not hitting Wolfric right now, and of course does some really nice extra damage too. But that blind effect is pretty important in order to stack the stats in Crockar's favor, especially since he doesn't have any healing. Basically like an enfeebling foe that you can keep active on Wolfric at all times. That being said, though, another Hand of the Gods just deletes, absolutely purifies that foul Shaman Sorcerer. He is done for. Krokar might also be done, though. Fight or Die popped on Wulfric. We've got Sacred Spawning of Zol, Cold-Blooded, Swiftness of Itzel, everything being popped on Krokar as he tries to hold the line there. Marauder Hunters still throwing in the back line, and I think the Marauder Hunters could end up being pretty decisive here in the late game. We've also got plenty of healthy Marauders, kind of pressuring Skinks away and continuing to support. If I had to give a slight edge to Norska, I probably would, but at the same time, this Lord fight could turn things around at any time. The Solar Engine also not getting any shots on Wulfric right now, really needs to open up. There we go. Nice hit into the Mammoth, but you can see his stats go down significantly, and he actually gets routed now by Krokar, so finally, timely Solar Engine shot right into the Mammoth butt, routes him, and he's probably going to get finished off as well if he can't extricate himself from Krokar here. And he does go down! Krokar finishes Wulfric the Wanderer, who will be wandering no more. Krokar says, I know one person from the Wanderer family, and he's Nakai, and he's not a baddie like you, so there we go. Apparently Nakai is the only Wanderer that's acceptable to Krokar, but now he's going to clean up in a pretty decisive terror rout for Crabling's forces, so looks like we'll pull it back 1-1. Assuming that I was correct about what Crabling said there in the chat. But great stuff, man. Super nice game, back and forth. Yeah, this one is live. This one is live. That's correct. Yep. We'll be going back to the quarters and looking at some of those as well, but this is a semi-final round between Crabling and Energized, and it looks like Energized probably brought it back to force a game 3. So, amazing stuff here. Krokar and the Solar Engine. So can someone explain to me? I'm just looking at the chat right now as they finish up. Yeah, that Hand of the Gods was nuts. But the Ice Trolls thing, like, can someone explain that to me? Like, Ice Trolls are kind of bad units, I'm going to be honest, and I've been seeing a lot of them recently. I don't know if it's just because people want to try them. People look at Stone Trolls and they're like, oh, they're literally the opposite of Stone Trolls, because whereas Stone Trolls have something like 50-60% cumulative resistance, I think the Ice Trolls are minus 40% weakness to fire cumulative. It's ridiculous. I mean, a Solar Engine just does so much damage to them, and also applying that blind debuff means they can't really take advantage of that increased weapon strength. Marauders are going to still continue to scrap here. Managed to rout off a handful of those Temple Guard there. Some more Saurus coming to engage. Throwing Axes still fighting. Yeah, I mean, I see what people are going for, but I wouldn't take Ice Trolls, I don't think. I mean, the mass is okay, but it'd be honestly really nice if Norska got Chaos Spawn too. I kind of don't know why they don't have Chaos Spawn, to be honest, but anyway. Cold counters dinosaurs. Yeah, exactly. I don't see the benefit over Famir. That's the main thing for me, is Famir, because of their leadership, like, yeah, they don't have regeneration. Armor is, they have better armor, though, and their leadership is much better. So, I don't know. It's a weird one. And especially with them being such a common pick right now, like, you gotta think that people are gonna take the counters that that Lizardmen can take, which are many. Looks like Guac and Pug also finished theirs. Won't spoil it now, but we're almost home, guys. We're almost home. Wow, we might not even go all the way to 5, depending on how these next rounds go. We might be done. I don't know. We'll probably go to about 5. That seems about right, considering the finals is best of 5. I don't know. If the finals is a 3-0, we might be done a little bit earlier than I anticipated. But again, big thanks to all the competitors here. Let's go ahead and throw the Wild Wurzag back up for the screen blocker. Get some music going again. You guys know the drill on this channel, hopefully, by now. There's that. Yeah, that was a great game. Yeah, maybe since they are cheaper than Famir, they're so much squishier than Famir, though. And yeah, Famir do get destroyed kind of for the cost, but at the same time, like, you can kind of combo them in, like, cycle them in and out just to get the armor sundering. I actually really like champs with shields in that matchup. Marauder champs with shields 1-for-1 will just beat Temple Guards, right? Not all the time, but pretty consistently, like probably 8 out of 10 times. Yeah, so... I don't know. You say you have little choice. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. I think you just go with something else. And maybe you don't go with any monstrous infantry at all, and you just go with infantry focus of your own. Take, like, I don't know, Lore of Metal, go Plague of Rust and Javelins, or you could even go like here, like 5 throwing axes I have tried against Lizardmen, and it's pretty good. Like, you could go for a very much like infantry kind of focus. With, you obviously still need some mass. But, yeah, I don't know, I don't see it. Like, I see it, but I don't see it, if that makes sense. Yeah, see, and that's kind of the thing, is my thought is maybe you just don't even take the monstrous infantry there. Like, what says that you have to take monstrous infantry? I mean, other than having the mass to stop the dinos running roughshod over your ranks, but... I mean, you have other tools for that as well. You don't only need monstrous infantry, and you could even take, like, just one cheapish one, right? Faction deliberations, there we go. Yep. They're thinking about their picks, doing their picks and bans. So, Energized with the pick 3 is going to pick Greenskins, Coast, and High Elves, and he bans... Or no, Greenskins, yeah, Pirates, and High Elves. He bans Vampire Counts. But let's see what Crabling responds with here. He's going to ban one of those 3 and then pick his own. I think Crabling played Chaos in Game 1. We missed Game 1 of this series. I do want to get the replay, though. I think he played Chaos in Game 1, though. I mean, halberds don't have mass anyway, Ben. Yeah, I mean, the slow is okay, but you have plenty of other units that have that ice effect, right? Like, you don't necessarily need to rely on the ice trolls for it. I don't know. I have some experience in that matchup recently, probably not as much as I would like. But I think we can do some different things. The ROR skin wolves are not a bad pick because they have AP. They're weak to fire, yes, but I don't know. They are kind of expensive too. They're not as low leadership as the trolls though, and they don't have as much fire weakness. A little bit of fire weakness, but not as much. Count mirror, please. I mean, I don't have the power to veto them this time, so... I don't think the players would want to do that to themselves, though. Nice, so Crabling will take Lizards now, and he's going to ban Coast. Energize responds with the Greenskins out of those other 2. Greenskins are High Elves, definitely agree. Greenskins is the one I would take here rather than High Elves. So we'll see... Both of them, or one at least, is ready. Curse of Years. True that. True that. Yeah, I mean, I guess when I do think about other units that would have mass to keep them from getting at your throwing axes, there's honestly not too much. Again, maybe only you take, like, only one Famir just to block, because what you really would need to block is the dinos. Lizard Cav are also an issue, though. Not super common in that matchup. they can be a little bit of an issue. Searing Doom, Plague of Rust are great for that, but I would have some good Horseman support as well for that, just to try and kind of contest. If the Lizard Cav charge in, then you can Plague of Rust them, Searing Doom them. I mean, if they stay at a distance, you can same thing, so I don't know. I have to theory craft it around a little bit, but in my experience, like, maybe you just don't even take any monstrous infantry, and you rely on the mass of... You could take, like, I don't know. There's some other janky things you could do involving, like, single entities on chariots, or, like, skin wolves. Again, decently cost-effective. They're going to fall over pretty quick against dinos, but if you have Plague of Rust, then maybe they might trade okay. WARHAMMER are a pretty good pick. They are very expensive, but their stats are fantastic, and they cause terror, so they won't get terror routed. Yeah. Yeah, I won't see Coast for now, at least. Nice. Very thoughtful of him to ban Undead for me. Yeah, here we go. Should probably update the scoreboard as well, because it is, in fact, a 1-1 now. For anyone just joining, this is the match between Crabling and Energized. So if we take a look at the bracket here... Nope, that's not it. Bracket, we've got... Yeah, Crabling versus Energized, like I said. Winner of this goes on to the final, and we'll check in on the other side of the bracket after. Yeah, Mr. Pig, you're probably right. My thinking is, though, because you can only Plague of Rust one thing at a time, like, I would probably be using that more out on the flanks to support, like, Jav Cav against Lizard Cav, rather than using it on the main line too much. I mean, granted, you could direct it at the dinos themselves, obviously. With javelins, that's going to generate great value. But if you have the throwing axes for your main line of skirmish, not only do they have better, just straight up better melee stats for the same cost, like the armor piercing damage is pretty solid. If the dinos go in the front line, then you can shoot them. You can shoot, you know, Temple Guard like we saw there. Yeah, it's fun. Javelins still wreck Temple Guard to a degree, yeah. It's not as efficient, but they do. The shield breaker plus like pure AP of the throwing axes means they're a little bit better. Yeah, they are better. Javelins can still wreck them, but you got to be a little bit smarter about like positioning, and yeah, they're not going to be as efficient. Yeah, the Pterodons are an issue for sure. And you know what we didn't see is any Feral Manticores. Feral Manticores at 800, like just bringing a couple Feral Manticores can be a good idea, even just to pressure the Pterodons. They might end up getting shot up and enraged, which would be sad, but I mean, there's another like kind of mobile attack unit that you can use to countercharge the Lizard Cav on the ground to keep your skirmish units safe. It's a lot of theory crafting, I'll admit, but these guys are both probably better than me anyway. Thank you very much, Wurzag, though. And here we are. Blood Pine Wood's going to be the site for the ace match. Yes. Alright, there's that. And here we go. Let's take a look now for Crabling's Lizards. He's brought same build as what we saw before, more or less, against the Greenskins. Not exactly the same, but he's got 4 Pterodons plus the Skink Chief on a Pterodon. He's got plenty of Saurus Warriors with shields and Ancient Stegodon plus Mazamundi. So less single entities this time. Doesn't have the Skink Chief on the ground, doesn't have the solar engine, but more of an air strike force this time. We are seeing a double spider again, and this is potentially a risky play just because he has so low leadership, but I really like his toolkit. The Goblin Great Shaman on the Spider Shrine, I think very underrated Lord choice. For Energized, we've also got Ragnarok Queen here, Black Orcs in the front line, some Orc Boys, plenty of Goblins, Spider Riders, and Boar Boys. So yes, indeed. The Queen and the Spider. Look at this. Love the Spider Shrine. Oh, it got this little skeleton arm hanging off like this giant skull. Look at that, the size of that skull. That's not a human skull. That's got to be like a friggin' troll skull or something. I don't even know. Some giant Chaos Warriors or something. And there's the Shaman himself, little dude, just standing up on a big spider. I love it. In terms of his toolkit of what he's brought here, he's got Vindictive Glare and Sneaky Stealin', as well as Don't Even Try It. Don't Even Try It, decent for stopping Mazdamundi's ability recharge, especially if you do a bunch of damage to him to prevent him from using Apotheosis for an extended period. You can pop that, do a little bit of extra damage to him as well. And there they go. Yeah, it's Greenskins Skirmish Cap are really good versus air. Yep, I agree. Because they're so cheap. You can take a ridiculous volume to counter skirmish. But energized here without any skirmish tools whatsoever, that does mean that all these pterodons are going to come in and just straight up start to blast. I say blast, they won't do a ton of damage to the Goblin Great Shaman, but they are going to do something, and he can blast back. He's going to do a little bit of miscast damage to himself, but that Vindictive Flare comes in, pops the Skink Chief, does a solid amount of damage to him. But yeah, you can see how the pterodons just pull up. They're all going to start only shooting Goblin Great Shaman, and this is going to put him on a little bit of a timer. It's not super impactful right now, but it will add up over the course of a long battle. It is nice, though, then, that the shots of the pterodons are not going on anything else, right? If it is just on the big Gobbo himself, that's probably... I mean, it's bad, but it's also not the absolute worst. The heavy armor will mitigate quite a bit of that damage, so it's not going to be as efficient as, say, shooting... Technically, efficient. Value-wise, it's much more efficient, but... yeah, it'll be rough over the course of the battle. Greenskins, though, with a pretty superior troop count, going to be able to wrap up and around and get kind of some 2-on-1 engagements here. A little bit of a overcast net to single out the Goblin Great Shaman. He pops Sneaky Stabbing on himself, but he doesn't have any defensive buffs, and the damage is really starting to add up at this point. The Ragnarok Queen can't really support in here. He pops the Crown of Command on himself. That is a good effect that he has to help counteract his low leadership. He can use it on himself, keep him in the fight. And here the Spiderling summons get called up, almost immediately routed. Black Orcs, though, trading the Saurus out in the front line. Gobbo's got pretty well pounded, but as the flank forces get engaged here, should be able to start doing some additional damage. But I think the misplay by Energize not to have any ranged units whatsoever is a big deal here. Goblin Great Shaman taking a lot of damage, and because of his low leadership, he's going to want to rout pretty soon. And yep, there he goes. Can probably be pressured off by the Pterodon Riders. I mean, they've used up a good portion of their ammo, but it just, from a tactical perspective and from a value perspective both, it's pretty solid. And the fact they're just going to be able to chase him straight off, there's not anything really that Energize can do about it. Because he didn't bring any skirmish units at all, I definitely think that was a mistake. Even just, I mean, it doesn't seem like Wolf Rider Archers or Spider Rider Archers are super necessary here, but because Pterodons are such a strong unit, I almost think you have to have a couple, or even just some Orc Airboys. I mean, Orc Airboys not bad at all in this matchup anyway. We'll see, though. I mean, Greenskins with their ground forces are still very, very healthy, and the Queen also fighting here. Black Orcs hewing. Most of the Saurus are gone. It's going to be just Dinos and Pterodons pretty soon. So, I don't know. Maybe they can bring it back. I doubt it. This Goblin Great Shaman, they're not going to allow him to rally, unfortunately, even though his leadership is quite high again. Nice banishment from Mazdamundi. Let's see, he's up to 33 kills only. Interesting. I guess it didn't do that much damage at the end of the day. But will the Pterodons actually have enough ammo to finish this off, is my question. I mean, in theory, Mazdamundi and the Thunderous One can kill all of this infantry pretty much by themselves. And with the Queen being almost down, the Pterodons have been focusing her at this point. Might be enough. The bounce power still even, though, because of all of this fat Greenskins infantry here. Although the Terror will be an issue. And I don't think the Black Orcs really have enough left in the tank. Likewise, Boar Riders, again, they're going to get terrified. Gobbo is gone. Yeah, no Rusty Airs was a mistake. I think so, yeah. At least the Rusty Airs, at least, you know, one unit of Air Boys, something to make up the difference between the skirmish game. But with him now fleeing, that's going to give an immediate leadership hit to all units on field. It won't be a permanent leadership hit. So if Energize can weather the storm a little bit here, but it looks like just charging straight in, a lot more of his units are going to start to rout and shatter, and I think that's game. So Crabling goes on to the final. Very close series. Cool, cool. Looks like we've got the next replays being dropped as well. Yep, Guac versus Puggington. Got those replays. Cool. Yeah, and that's the game. So Crabling moves on. GG to both players. It was an awesome series. Well, I'll be sure to get the Game 1 replay from Crabling, and we can have a look at that in just a second. But, wow. What a game, huh? What a game. It's too bad about the Gobbo's the leadership, too. I mean, he is a Gobbo. What do you expect from him? But, yeah, good stuff. GG's to both players. We're going to go ahead and back on out. I'll go ahead and drop Crabling a quick message there. Give me just a second, guys. We're going to swap this over, get some music going for you. And I'll be right back. Alright, here we go. Got some replays to see, and the first one is going to be Skaven versus Vampire Counts. Apologies about the double music there. We'll get this faded out. Thank you. And yeah, oh, my game just crashed. Ha, did not like me tabbing out right there. Okay, just kidding. Re-cue the music. Let me restart my game real quick. Ha! That was funny. I very rarely have that happen when I tab out. Usually it's not an issue, but there we go. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Falcon is out already. That is correct. So let's go ahead then, while this is getting set back up. So Crabling prevails there. He moves on to the final, one step closer to being the South Sea champion. And representing myself at the Everchosen Invitational. Currently, we're going to be taking a look at the round between Puggington and Guac. So let's get back over here. I'll hide the scoreboard and everything for now. Since we're just going to be going straight through it. And let's get to it. Let's see, Guac, so far, been on a tear, so I'm going to actually wait till the game's loaded in to fade the music this time. Let's see. Yeah, you gotta see this wild Guac, definitely. So let's have a look. Now, what are the builds? So, on the undead side, for Vampire Counts, Manfred we saw there. We've got, yeah, the Grave Guards lined up here with the Zomboys. Vargulf with a Chevron, just a single Chevron. Fellbats, almost said Hellbats, but sure, why not? Varix Reavers, some additional stuff hidden here in the woods. What is that? Another Terror Goose. We've got a Goose, a Geist, and a nasty, nasty Manfred. And yeah. South Sea selection. So the South Sea Mercenary League is like my league that I ran this winter. I did like a test run of it. I want to start running it more often. This summer ended up being kind of crazy, as you can imagine, with a lot of different things. But yeah, it's in terms of The name, yeah, it's just the Dov Pays meme. Like, I like Pistoliers, I like Empire, I like Halberds. I'm a big fan of Southern Realms, too. I really want them to add Southern Realms to the game. So it's just kind of, you know, a lot of the game takes place in the South Sea. There are a lot of South Sea mercenaries and, you know, dudes in Sartosa and such. So, there it is. But, yeah, the vampires just kind of taking their time to approach very patiently here. Vargulf gets up and around the side there. Sternsmen, zombies, and the Necromancer all just making their way forward. The Skaven artillery blasting into the woods here, not really doing too much damage. Vampires doing a great job of using the cover of the woods there. And the Necromancer here just carrying Forbidden Rod for additional winds of magic regeneration and such. So yeah, this is one of the issues with this map, is setting up here in the back like this, is with the forests on either side, the vampires can take advantage here of these thick, absolutely girthy Nagarond redwoods. I don't know, not really redwoods, but blackwoods, let's be honest. They're dark elf woods, they'd be called blackwoods. Yeah, rats really hate trees, it's true. And they must. But we're going to fast forward a little bit just because we do have some more stuff to get through today as the vampires very patiently make their approach. This is, of course, a replay from the quarterfinals. Finally, the red duck comes in. Or not red duck, the wannabe red duck. Too bad he's actually better than the red duck. The, no, not the blood dragon. That's right, it's Manfred. I forget. Manfred, nice to see a legendary lord in use for the vampires rather than just the Bloodline Lords. Goose comes down. He's going to get one of the Warp Lightning Cannons here. Manfred lands on the balls there. The Globadiers, very nicely done. Poison Wind Globe's actually very strong, but Manfred now potentially going to get sniped by the Clan Vulcan's Tail Slashers, as well as the Master Assassin getting in here. What initially seemed like a pretty rough engagement for the Skaven, suddenly they turn it around just like that with a little bit of an error by Manfred. He is going to be able to escape there, heal himself, and stabilize again, but Skaven definitely scrapping here, and if we turn around, the attrition game is not great right now for the vampire counts because they didn't bring any passive healing sources. So the Mortis engine that the Skaven brought here in the Plague Priest will be just generating massive value train. So the monster fight so far I'd give to the Skaven. Double Hell Pit still completely healthy. No Blood Knights is potentially a mistake here. Personally, I would have cut the Goose and just taken Blood Knights, because Blood Knights kill almost everything on the Vampire Counts roster. Or, I mean, on the Skaven roster. Vampire Counts roster, too, honestly. But anyway, Goose dives down to try and take out the Plague Priest, understanding how much of a danger it is. Same thing, Vargulf teaming up there with Goose. But both the Hell Pits can now switch over in this direction and get at these vampire monsters. And the vampires are running out of steam, which is not something you see super often. Graveguards will sustain just fine. Zombies over on this flank also getting a pretty good break. And Rout, same thing. Varix Reavers nicely done, finishing off that artillery crew there. So both players just scrapping back and forth. But man, Snitch is so scary. Like, a very momentary slip up and Manfred just got dunked on there. That was pretty impressive, all things considered. The Hell Pits being very healthy into this late game is helpful. The Plague Priest, likewise, same thing. Snitch and the Assassin. All the single entities for the Skaven are in pretty good shape. Most of them are for the Counts as well, other than Manfred just getting dumped on a little bit there. But Varix Reavers also still completely healthy. They've healed up some of their HP, no doubt, but anyone's game still. Definitely going to be a bit of a grind here. Hell Pit Abomination moves in, kind of isolate on these Graveguard along with the other single entities, and this is some nice force concentration by the Skaven here to keep the pressure up, keep everyone kind of together, not get too singled out, because that's the danger with Skaven, is you don't want to get isolated. A lot of these routing units coming back though, which is nice. You can get some more chaff in there for some support. Both armies kind of chaff infantry is just decimated at this point. But Skaven and vampires, of course, can continue to summon more. So some more clan rats pulled up to fight for the Plague Priest here. Plague Priest? No, that's a Warp Lightning Cannon. I was like, it's right here. It couldn't have gotten destroyed. That Warp Lightning Cannon tripped me out a little bit. It's fine, though. Wow, and the Vargolf just getting bullied in terms of mass. Hell Pits have much, much heavier mass. So it's going to have to squeak away here and try and pull around to get a good engagement. Goose, likewise, as well, is having a little bit of a rough one. Yeah, right? That attack animation dodge. Manfred does have the summon. Yeah, he has the zombie summon. I just haven't seen him use it too much. I don't know if what exactly he's been using his Winds of Magic on. Probably just invocations for himself. But yeah, so far, Skaven are holding up okay considering the Furious Assault, but this Plague Priest is starting to get pretty low. Good cycle charge by the Dragon and by the Goose. Goose is also being used to chase routing units here, though, which is not super efficient in terms of cost. It does keep him away from the Hell Pits a little longer. Potentially they can try and single out this Plague Priest, but just got to keep those single entities together for the Skaven. Keep the Plague Priest and the Hell Pits close. Keep Snitch close. He can maybe pop Manfred with another ambush and get him done. And there it is. As soon as I say it, it's like he read my mind, even though this isn't even live. Deathmaster Sigil popped on Manfred there. He's going to take some big old hits from the, from the Hell Pits. I think he actually overcasted there. I'm not sure that that was on purpose to summon the Skeleton Warriors to try and bog him down here. But at the very least, it does give Manfred a little bit of healing, and he's now relatively safe back up in the air. Definitely going to have to play off of Goose at this point. But considering you're starting to get outnumbered on single entities, like the vampire counts are, it's potentially going to be a bad situation for them in the single entity fight. Nice breath attack from Manfred, though. Mostly dodged by the swinging Furnace of Doom. But definitely feeling the lack of Blood Knights. Blood Knights, again, I say this all the time, very clearly the best shock cavalry in the game. And against Hell Pits, which are kind of one of the Skaven's main tools in this matchup, like, they will just destroy Hell Pits on cycle charging super efficiently. Hell Pits only 50 armor, very low defense. The Blood Knights just do a ton of damage to them on the charge. So I think not bringing any Blood Knights could have potentially been a fatal mistake, but let's see. It's still anyone's game at this point. The Skaven in the backline being mopped up. The Assassin's starting to get a little bit low. Snitch himself is just fine. But, yeah, the Hell Pit Abomination's also being so healthy. Potentially an issue, but the Plague Priest here could get singled out and killed now by Manfred. Oh, yeah, big attack animation from the Zombie Dragon. And suddenly, it's bad news. Another breath attack there from Terror Goose, but another Deathmaster Sigil, and I think this is game blouses for Manfred. He's going to try one more zombie summon here, bail himself out, but some big hits from the Hell Pit. Assassin's Trophy also been popped on him. As soon as that happens, the Assassin gets terrified, so nicely timed there, able to get it off before he goes. Scroll of Shielding also being popped there on Manfred to keep him online. Just desperately fighting for his life here as the Skaven take a slight lead on the bounce power. Still very even, though, as the Vargolf and the Goose are absolute threats. Vargolf, 57 kills, XP Chevron gained. Goose also got an XP Chevron, but he gets a big right hook from the two Abominations. Now he's stuck on the ground. Snitch also comes from behind, gets a big attack with the scaling damage there, and suddenly things are pretty decisively turned with Goose taking all those attacks. Yeah, we're almost back up to 300. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, you don't necessarily always get clean charges, but in a situation like this, especially in the late game, if you have Blood Knights healthy, they can make a world of difference. But yeah, this is looking rough for the vampires at this point. Zombies are going to continue to follow up and attack. Handful of Sternsmen still fighting. But, yeah, are those actual Sternsmen? Can't tell. Yeah, they're mixed in there. The summon zombies soon will run out of steam, though, and that's going to be basically it. I mean, yeah, we'll fast forward a little bit, as this is, again, going to be a little bit of a long ending here, potentially, with the undead, but just finishing off all the infantry, getting the Varix Reavers to charge in there. The problem is that Manfred and the Goose just can't, I don't know, they're not going to be able to take these Hell Pits. Manfred can't even touch the ground, or the Deathmaster will kill him, and yeah, that's basically it. A few more zombie units coming back from the side here, potentially. I see something over there. Oh, there's a Vargulf still. What the heck? A very healthy Vargulf still. Okay, alright, so reunify with those forces real quick. Oof, yeah. Oh, that was big. That was big. He did get an attack in there. I saw that. That attack that started him to crumble there. Oh, yeah. Deathmaster Sigil also pops in. It's just tough, man, with these two hell pits both having so much HP still and so much healing cap space as well. Yeah, Manfred goes down right as he gets a zombie summon off. At least there's some zombies still left fighting, but that's going to be a pretty decisive turn. It was a close one, though. Very good game. Well played to both of you guys. Guac and Fuggington, I both know both you guys I know in chat. That was... Yeah. Yeah. It didn't end up mattering. Technically, I think you were breaking the attacking rule, but it's fine. No big deal. Yeah, Skaven were going to win that anyway, I think. But, yeah, very good game to both players. Those Hell Pits, very brutal stuff. 208 kills, though. Varix Reavers, I love this unit. Probably one of the most underrated regiments from now in the game. 160 for the Sternsman, 163 there. Vargulf got 1 Chevron. Terragoose got 2. Almost was enough. Yeah, I think that's interesting. It's a tough draw, but that was a very, very good game. Let's go ahead and get to the next one. Yeah, man, that was very close. A little bit of different RNG could have potentially turned that around. I mean, games that close, I don't know. The Hell Pits were still pretty healthy, though. Yeah. Anyway. This time, Puggington's taking the Skaven, and Guac's taking the Green Tide. And I already see Teef Rabas, so that's, you know, a moral victory for Guac. Actually pretty good in this matchup. So yeah, Warp Lightning Cannon again for the Skaven. Snitch again, Assassin, as we've seen before. Nice friendly fire blasting those clan rats there. Plague Priest, very similar build. He does have a Doom Wheel though this time, and Ixcha's Triads, Clan Vulcan's Tail Slashers, some Rat Ogres. On the Greenskin side, I love the pick of Squig Hoppers here. Squig Hoppers kind of fallen out of favor in comparison to Boar Boys in many situations, but this is a matchup definitely where I really like the Squig Hoppers. Night Goblins as well. We've got some Fanatics, Error Boys. Let's see. Gobos, Gobbo Big Boss. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Azag here, I think, is a really strong pick. He does have Slagga Slashes. Does he have Ard Armor as well? I don't think so. I think he just has Slagga Slashes, which is a great passive attack buff here. It's going to make these Night Goblins trade pretty well. You can see they're up to 36 attack. Definitely pretty solid. The Rat Ogres come back and get a decent attack here, kind of on these protecting forces of the Archers. The Archers themselves definitely making their presence felt. Frontline engagement not going great for the Greenskins, though, as a lot of these units are taking pretty significant damage from the Mortis engine. They're having a hard time holding their leadership together. I mean, they are mostly just Gobbos, so can't fault them too much for that. But nice little side-shotting, Fanatics cast right there. Also, the Arrow Boys will make their presence felt. Look at this damage. Arrow Boys are better AP than crossbows, to be honest. They hit very, very hard, and the Plague Priest is learning that the hard way here. Not even any rusty arrows, I don't think, involved in that, but Azag himself is getting shreked as well, so definitely good play on both sides. Very back and forth. Gobbo, Big Boss, pressuring this Doom Wheel is fantastic for the Big Boss. He can continue to kind of poison and annoy and harass, and now the Doom Wheel, because it had a path up and around these rocks, gets caught out from support and is going to end up getting routed off here by the boss and the Wyvern. Azag, good old Azag. Teef is also up to 28 kills, just been running some fantastic disruption, kind of pulling units out of position into different places. Squig Hoppers, nice charge on the Clan Vulcan's Tail Slashers, and a quick Spirit Leech on the Assassin to help take him out. Arrow Boys actually fighting decently against Plague Monks. Those Plague Monks are shredding quite a few kills, though, up to 42 kills and climbing very rapidly. Globadiers also firing into the back line, doing some nice DPS. And are these Arrow Boys charging? Yes! Yes! Charge the Arrow Boys into the Globadiers. This is actually a really good idea, because the These guys are not pushovers in terms of skirmish units, especially, I mean, 10 charge, 14 attack, 34 weapon strength in particular. It's pretty bad, to be honest, but 34 weapon strength is not bad. They just pressuring those those Globadiers away, that was a big brain play right there. I don't know if I could have thought to do that. The Warp Lightning Cannons look like it's going to finish off Azag, though, and as we know, leadership issues are absolutely real for the Greenskins. So will Azag's imminent demise here change the course of the battle? 350 HP down to 111 HP. Oh man, will this last shot? It actually hits the Plague Priest, and Azag, it looks like, may be able to get away here as some Night Goblins here. The 8 Peak Loons were able to inundate the crew. Nope, Azag goes down. He did go down. Okay, so Azag's done. That's going to leave the balance of power dead even, but it looks like the Plague Priest is likewise also done. So 2 main power units, 1 for each side, are offline. Snitch is still online, but at this point he doesn't really have characters to snipe. There was only Azag. I mean, maybe he could come in, go after this Gobble Big Boss and finish him off, which would definitely not be a bad idea, but he doesn't fight like blobs of infantry super efficiently, and he could potentially have a tough time against a lot of these Squig Hoppers and so on. We'll see. A lot of Night Goblins, Plague Monks still as well, coming in to cut the boys, like standing in these hedges or this vineyard or whatever. Where'd they go? I swear there were some Plague Monks here. And they're gone, just like that, as I try and zoom in on them. Oh yeah, that was a brilliant big brain play. Now though, a wall being popped, big timing push for the Greenskins. Gonna have to be careful. Are the Skaven, as the Plague Priest now getting finished off, nicely done by the Squig Hoppers to make sure that Plague Priest doesn't come back. Rat Ogres though, again pushing over, disrupting the archers. Rat Ogre play has been pretty on point. Here comes the snipe attempt from the Snitch at the Goblin Big Boss. He himself uses They Need Stabbing, but he is definitely not nearly as good of an assassin as Snitch. Spider Rider's going to try and bail him out here. I don't know if he actually goes down. Looks like he may be able to survive this encounter. Oh, barely. Barely. I don't think he's coming back, though. And the globes are here firing at this little blob. Man, absolute scrap of a game. This is super, super close at this point. Orc Air Boys firing in, getting some overwatch there on the Rat Ogres. I don't think the Rat Ogres are going to make contact, which means a lot of these units that they were chasing are now coming back, and in particular those Orc Air Boys are going to be huge. The T-Frob is also... Oh, here we go. It can kind of kite the Rat Ogres a little bit here. Oh, did they just rout? And they didn't shoot. Yep, they must have just routed. That's fine. Deathmaster, it's going to be up to him to grind through the rest of this. So again, we've got some games to get through. We'll fast forward through this. And let's go ahead and take a look here. Just make sure I'm doing my appropriate admin things. Greenskins at this point are coming in and cleaning up a lot of stuff. It's going to be, like I said, Snitch versus the world, and I just don't know if he can grind through this many goblins. The Air Boys, likewise, are also trying to pull away into a position where they can shoot. But even just shooting like Rat Ogres or anything at this point is going to be pretty solid. Let's see here. Cool. And I got Crabling's other replay, so if you guys want to see that as well, we can take a look before we jump to the final. But we're gonna go immediately. I've got the replays from Aaron's and Faust's matchups, so we'll get this. Just get those download while the Greenskins try and clean up Snitch here. He is just tanking out the damage right now. Just fighting tooth and nail. A few Rat Ogres pulling back into the fight as they rally their leadership once more. Decent rear charge here, but the boys and the Gobbos, I think it's enough to hold out. Actually, I say it's Gobbos. It's actually all boys. It's all boys at this point. Only a handful of Gobbos left. But here we go. Snitch being a slippery little bugger. Yeah, the Skaven player does have to engage, yes, but Snitch's been fighting the whole time, kind of pinging between different targets. Yeah, a lot of small things could have changed this battle, and that's the thing. Even, like, just a little bit of RNG, too, could have changed the battle. In very close games like this, between two very good players, I often say Warhammer is a game of inches, and it very much is. Like, the smallest of things, seemingly insignificant things, can make pretty big differences. But Guac takes the win there. He's going to move on to the semi-final. And who will his opponent be? Let's go ahead and find out right now. Bear with me as I get the last replay downloaded here. Okay. And Aaron versus Faust. Here we go. Last of the quarterfinals. We're almost there. Almost home, guys. And here we go. Aaron versus Faust. Greenskins versus Dwarfs. I don't know, have we seen any Dwarfs on stream yet today? Oh, no, that's right. We did see the other Gyro replay. That's right. Okay, so here we go. Very classic matchup. Absolute grudge match. Yeah, under the banner of Karak Kadrin, too, which I am a huge fan of this color scheme for the Dwarfs. That's a big brain move play. He's got a box in the back with some brimstones, as we saw there. I think there's one steam gun as well up in the top to go after Vanguard Gobos. We've got some roasters, some torps, a bunch of Ironbreakers, Longbeards in a box here with some miners. I guess it's probably just Longbeards, huh? Yeah, just Longbeards. With the one cannon, Rune Lord, and so on. For the Green Tide, we've got Doom Diver Catapult. Yeah, a bunch of Skirmish Cav, Black Orcs, a couple of Pump Wagon, Flappas. More Black Orcs over here. They have currently been hidden by the Night Goblin Shaman's Night Shroud. That's right. Mangy Marauders. We've got the Catapult moving up from the flank as well. So a very wide Greenskins build going for an enveloping approach. We'll fast forward somewhat. Again, we do have a few replays to get through, so on this initial phase, this kind of skirmish and approach phase, we'll fast forward as you can see the Gyros maneuvering around, getting the worst end of the engagement against the Mangy Marauders, but it is what it is. And yeah, I want a Flame Cannon multiplayer. Yeah, I mean, in a tournament, I don't know, people are maybe not going to risk it. It is a fun pick, and it can be very effective, but it is pretty risky. But nicely done here. The melee Gyros rush down, actually take out the artillery crew of the Doom Diver there. Over here, it looks like a Hammer of Gork has also been taken out by the Steam Gun, just blasting it. Goblin Archers not able to do enough to keep it safe there. So decent stuff. Meanwhile, the Greenskins advance is kind of getting broken up. Nicely done using this terrain piece to kind of break up the advance a little bit there. That sort of Dark Elf camp, if you will. And yeah, the Flappa's now getting in range. The Trollhammer torpedoes, though, are going to make very short work of them. They're not dealt with very soon. And it looks like Grom coming around the back there. We've got Black Orcs getting into combat now against the Longbeards. They'll do well in that engagement, obviously. The Flappas also push through into the back line, start to inundate this box a little bit. Nice cast of Fanatics right down the line. Going to do some really good damage to the Trollhammer torpedoes there. So nice back and forth so far. The Gyros, though, being unaccounted for at this point is a big problem for Orcs and Gobos. Grom the Paunch will be taking pretty consistent damage from them. You can see the artillery's been finished off by them, so great Gyro play here, using them as your sole mobile kind of strike force. Nice bombing runs as well. It's getting close. Oh yeah, just slapping those Black Orcs with bombs. Fire Drakes also coming in and getting a nice flanking attack here, blasting the Unbreakable Night Gobos. Not that they'll rout them, but they'll do very solid damage. Flappas likewise almost routed. Grom also taking a bit of damage, but things are pretty close. Longbeard's getting shredded in the front line. And here comes the wall right as the Black Orcs, basically all three are in contact here. Very healthy for the most part. They're going to be cleaning through this dwarf line in a big hurry. Likewise, the skirmish cav still a threat to the gyros. Like, the gyros can't necessarily just operate with pure impunity, but look at that flamer. Oh man, the Iron Drake's just counter roasting here. That's not even counter skirmish, that's full on counter roasting these Goblin Wolf Cav, and the Goblin Wolf Cav will not like that at all, not one bit. Probably the best use of Fire Drakes I've seen in a while. That's going to murderize my flame rates, and the Wolf Rider Archers will be seen off there, ensuring the Gyrocopters are properly, well and truly protected now. Will it be enough? The Black Orcs are pushing through. This Rune Smith is also down. The Rune Lord really doesn't have much hitting power, but another little bombing run there on those Black Orcs. And the second one hits primarily the Longbeards. Oh, it's fine. The Dwarfs are starting to pull ahead in terms of balance of power because of leadership and so on. The Trollhammer torpedo has been secure for most of this time and just been absolutely shredding these large units. The Flappas at this point will... I guess they're not even Flappas. This one is a Flappa, right? Is this a regular one? Okay, yeah. The regular pump wagon over there. They got on top of the Trollhammers, but unfortunately the Gyros come in, blow up one of the unit models, and that's going to be it for the pump wagons. They get routed. Rune of Wrath and Ruin slowing them down anyway, and that's looking pretty good for the Dwarfs. A lot of Black Orcs still left, but considering the Brimstones still have plenty of ammunition, and very critically, despite the HP damage here, all three of them are still online. So yeah, Vindictive Glare blasting one of those gyros there, but again, not taking down the unit models is super critical here. They can rear fire into the Black Orcs, and the armor-piercing damage of the Brimstone guns will be pretty effective. Or he can use it like this to take out these mobile units. Grom took some major damage, was getting chased around by gyros, now gets finished off. Look at that. Look at that giant belly. Oh, where'd he go? Oh, he's over here. He's so thick. Look at that. Look at that face. Why, gyros, why? So with him being down, that's going to be obviously leadership issues for the Greenskins. Even the Black Orcs, to a degree, will start to have leadership issues. They get routed off there. And the gyros, Royal Dawi Air Force of Karak Kadrin, carrying the day. Fun stuff. Oh, yeah. Yep, we'll put it in a little bit of a fast forward as the Dwarfs now clean up with their fire and brimstone. Literal fire and brimstone. Get it? Yeah, the Greenskins are going to keep pushing, though. I mean, they've got still Black Orcs fighting here and grinding. The problem is there's nothing to account for the Trollhammers and the Gyros, and like I said, they can just keep shooting the Black Orcs till the cows come home. I think I hear a cannon back online, even? What was that sound effect? I don't know. Ooh, another Vindictive Glare, that's nice. Oh, it was the rocks. I was like, what's making an artillery sound effect? And it's the Hammer of Gork actually came back. It's throwing some rocks in here. That could make a little bit of a difference, certainly thinning out some more of these Dwarf infantry, but the Black Orcs just running out of steam at this point. They're too low on HP, and Dwarfs take an even more decisive lead on the balance of power there. Hammer of Gork gets cleaned up, and I think that's just about army losses. A few more Black Orcs got to get flamed, and that's it. So great job. Great job to Aaron. Beating out Faust, Greenskins there. Very nice back and forth grudge game. So let's go ahead and get to the next one. Game 2 between these players. One grudge removed. Yep. Correct. Spam gyros sit in a box. Well, yeah, I mean, there's definitely something to be said for that, because gyros, they're your only mobile attack units, right? So, and they're not even really attack units, they're really ranged units, to be honest, but they're your only mobility, their only flexibility, right? So it makes sense for me, at least, to go heavy on the gyros as much as you can. Yeah, the Iron Drake play was definitely on point. Here, we're going to have Greenskins versus Coast. So the Greenskins swap sides. Let's see, we have a big Vanguard situation, so I'm going to put it in relative slow motion here as we get the builds. Wolf Rider Archers, Night Goblins, Night Goblin Archers, Fanatics coming in off the flank here. Plenty of Fanatics as well. And yeah, force in their actual deployment zone. We've got some stone trolls with Grom the Paunch, river troll hag, and some wolf archers, some scurvy dogs in the back. In the front, plenty of zombos. We've got shade wraith gunners, Noctilus, yeah, Noctilus, fire necrofex, and some more deck gunners. Really not a fan of deck gunners in this matchup at all, but I really like the fire necrofex on the other hand. He'll be great for clearing out all this goblin chaff. The deck dropper bombers, though, already getting fully peppered by the goblin counter skirmish here. And we've got, what, a mortar as well? So the bomber bats is one I have been seeing quite a bit of recently, but with the goblin archers being able to respond in kind here, so effectively the Greenskins should be able to hold out okay. The biggest danger for them, obviously, is this Necrofex Colossus. Oh, the Necrofex is so scary. Yeah, and right now it's not taking too much focus, but the goblins probably could focus that as well. Grom the Paunch now getting in here. We've got the stone trolls also getting in over on that far flank. The stone trolls want to probably stay away from the Necrofex as much as possible, because it will really mess them up in melee, in my experience. Noctilus kind of overextending here, though, trying to push away some archers, but a nice wah timing push as a lot of these boys do get into combat here. The Warlord's boys immune to psychology, so they're not too scared. The 8-peak loons, of course, are just straight up unbreakable as they get a column engagement against these zombies here. And yeah, things are looking really nice for the Greenskins at this point. The Flamer has done quite a bit of work, but he's been able to kind of manage the damage on the different units as much as possible. Oh no! No! I'm getting like Steam messages and stuff. There we go. Wow. Wow, guys, I'm that good. I'm that good at this. It's fine. You just missed like 2 minutes of battle. It's no big deal. Just the critical parts. Yeah, that's twice today. I mean, you stream for 5 hours, like 6 hours, you're probably going to do it at least twice. Anyway, at this point, the Greenskins looking pretty good. Like I said with the bombers, I mean, the counter skirmish here, this is basically what's been happening the whole time. You haven't really been missing much. To be honest. But yeah, the Fire Necrofex likewise also starting to get focused at this point. It's got quite a few kills, 96 kills, but it's a lot of goblins to have to cut through here. And the Stone Trolls now being in combat, I mean, like I was saying earlier, they should avoid this engagement as much as possible. But the Necrofex actually, because it's so low on HP, is going to have to avoid taking that engagement. There's just too much of a mass of trolls there. But yeah, potentially it could... Oh, man, but look at that. Just deletes. That's why you bring the Fire Necrofex. Straight up deletes the 8-peak loons right there. This thing is so powerful. It's not quite enough to carry the game at this point, though, I don't think. The Flamer will shoot in, hit some of those trolls. The flammable effect is pretty good. It does lead them to getting routed, but nice little Vindictive Glare. The spiteful Shaman just throwing a few bolts before he gets routed and dies against... Noctilus there. So yeah, Fire Necrofex on its last legs. Grom also pushing through, and Grom being on a chariot, technically he's weak to fire damage, but yeah. Just pushing him into the Goblin Archer fire here. The soak of all of these overwhelming arrows going to be too much for the fire, and he'll go down, and that's going to be a quick victory for, yeah. For the Greenskins. I actually think Greenskins versus Coast might be slightly Greenskins favored, which is weird to say, them being favored against any undead faction. No Luther Harkon here, which I think is potentially a mistake. Luther's a super powerhouse, but there it is. Yeah, it's all about positioning with that unit. Exactly, Felix. And since it's kind of slow, it's not super forgiving in terms of positioning, but if you get it in the right spot at the right time, it would just wreck things. Yeah. Supposedly, Jim Jam, they fixed most of the units, so they should be shooting into the center mass of a unit. But here, the Stone Trolls are going to hold out. I mean, yeah, Noctilus is going to hold out against the Stone Trolls, but it'll be too much at the end of the day. So Aaron moves on. Well played to Faust for getting this far. And now we're going to join in with Aaron and Guac. Let's get in here. You didn't want to bring a boring Lord Snipe build. Yeah, well, yeah. Get crispy goblins. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe you go with Luther and the Fire Necrofex, although that's going to leave you pretty thin on the ground in general. I don't know. I'd have to kind of work the Greenskins matchup a little bit to see where Coast stands now. But anyway, let's go ahead and look here. So we're waiting on a Aaron. Okay, looks like he's in. So these guys can get their picks and bans system going. I'm going to very briefly go get a drink of water. Dancing Wurzag will be the stream blocker, and I'll put music on so I don't forget to turn him off. And I'll be right back. Okay, and I'm back. Let's go ahead and go back to the bracket. Whoops, there it is. So Guac was able to prevail over Puggington. Aaron goes on, so yeah, we're in for a wild time now. Let's get back to here. We can turn on the scoreboard and get everything else ready. Oops, not that. I mean, we will need those, yes, but this also. And then I believe it was Aaron versus Guac, which we need to change. Whoops, that looks wonderful. Come on, Guac, come over here. There we go. Very professional, guys, with all my pro software and everything. There it is. And yeah, the score is not 1-1, but currently 0-0 as we're just getting started. Semi-final round between Aaron and Guac. Winner of this goes on to face Crabling in the final. So let's get it going, folks. Hope you're excited. I know I'm excited. We're going to have interesting The Knights of Calidor versus Skaven. Very fun stuff. Okay. Fine. Scores are a little misaligned, but that's fine. Fine. Just don't look at it, please. There we go. I should just stop messing with it. Okay. Yeah, well played. This is a best of 3. The final will be a best of 5, but this is a best of 3. We're getting there. We're getting there. Almost done. Oh, looks like they actually haven't got their faction picks locked yet, so Aaron gonna go Wood Elves. So yes, Guac picked Skaven, ban Empire and Beastmen. Aaron went Wood Elves. So this should be an interesting one. Wood Elves versus Skaven is a matchup I'd say is pretty even. The Mortars are obviously a huge danger, as they are to literally every faction, but especially Elves. Elves in general tend to be very squishy against those kind of health draining effects because they don't have a lot of HP to begin with. I mean, granted, Wood Elves do have some healing, but it's still not great. Mortars are a big danger, so is the Plague Priest, but you have plenty of counter-skirmish tools to potentially take them out. And the stock, that's on, you know, a lot of the units here, the Way Watchers, you know, Deepwood Scouts, stuff like that, because you can get within pretty close range, hopefully, you know, fingers crossed, without getting spotted. Although Guac, or any Skaven player in this situation, you would want to set up so you have enough spacing. That way, if the Mortars will basically have visibility the whole time. The Skaven don't have any fast units that are good at scouting, so that is kind of one of their biggest weaknesses, honestly. They're even weaker than Dwarfs in a way at scouting, because Dwarfs at very least have gyros, which are fast flying units that can do some scouting. Skaven, like, your only real fast units, they're not even in that super fast speed range, but like, I don't know, Rat Ogres, right? So it's just, they don't have the greatest scouting. Usually by scouting you would just get depth, so you have like a very, you know, multi-layered line with Skaven slaves, you know, far enough out at the front of that whole formation that your mortars still maintain good visibility. But we'll see. Let's see what Aaron does here. Lady incoming, I would think so. Orion's also not a completely terrible pick here because he's Vanguard, Unbreakable Terror. This map doesn't really have enough forests where you'd be able to use any of the trees in this matchup either. So probably a Glady, I would imagine. She's obviously the most competitive choice, usually. What can they do, though? Let's see. Get Warzag out of here. Thank you very much, Warzag. And here we go. Yep. Schwarzhofen, the map that we are at once again. And let's do it to it. Okay. Cloaca Isha doesn't help versus Snikch scaling. That is true, and Snikch is a pretty common pick here, although he is very vulnerable to getting sniped by even, like, actually, because Hagbane tips do magic damage, believe it or not. They're also pretty accurate. Same thing with the Swift Shiver Shards. They also deal magic damage. Those two units in particular can be very dangerous for Snikch, and also the Forest Dragons dealing fire damage. Arrows of Kurnos is also a good way of dealing with him. The Wood Elves, probably out of a lot of factions, have some of the better tools for dealing with Snikch. So, yeah, Orion, again, though, Arrows of Kurnos, you'd have to bring a Waystalker, which actually, Waystalker is not a bad pick at all in this matchup. The Arrows of Kurnos can go after weapons teams, it can go after artillery pieces, you could shoot some mortars, kill a few models of them with it. Yeah, Skaven Slave Slinger is a pretty good pick here. I like that thought as well. Just kind of counter range fire a little bit. Yeah, Snikch is pretty risky. I don't know, he might be meta still, though. And that's the thing, is a lot of it is like map dependent, right? And this is true of almost any unit in the game. Like map dependent and otherwise terrain dependent, like forests and hills. I guess that's kind of map dependent, right? That's all part of the map. I'm taking a long time to load in here. It's fine. Yeah, he's usually screwed. He can do a lot of damage to Orion if you think that your opponent might go for an Orion pick. Outside of him, the Skaven, they have a few hard-hitting, like, high weapon strength units, but if the elves can focus them down, though, Orion can be ridiculously hard to kill. Speaking of builds, we finally get to have a look here, and let's see what they have brought. Start with Skaven. Yeah, let's start with Skaven here for Guacamole. He's got Poison Wind Mortars, as expected. 1 unit of Jezzails also. Some Rat Ogres. A bunch of Clan Rat Spears. No shields. Some Skaven Slave Spears up front as well. That Gracier on a Bell. Pretty decent. Also got an Assassin, plus Warlock Engineer, just Howling Warp Gale, and Warp Lightning there. I say just. That means this is going to be Lore of Plague with summons only. Yep. And the Bell, of course, being quite a powerful deal. 2 Forest Dragons, pretty deep in terms of single entities here for the Wood Elves. It's a bit risky against Skaven because they have a lot of great missile tools, but with this kind of a build, I like his aggressiveness. He's going all the way up forward with these Dryads here, 4 of them. Glade Guard can go all the way to the front of their deployment zone, basically, and still be in a decent formation. Glady, is she on foot? What? I don't know when's the last time I saw her on foot. This is potentially pretty risky, because she's very squishy, less than 3,000 HP. Not a terrible combatant in terms of stats, like 60 is actually pretty good, but the fact she has such low HP, armor, weapon strength, it's going to be interesting. I don't know that I've ever seen the Glady on foot. Maybe not ever, but in a long time at the very least. A couple of Eternal Guards as well. There is a Waystalker here. And a Branch, yeah, the Branch Wraith pretty far forward as well. Interesting. I don't know about this Wood Elf build. It's very, very wild, I would say. Just regular Glade Guard 2, no Hagbane tips, not a ton of mobility. Very interesting. But Glady with 2 dragons, like, why would you not just take her on one of those dragons? Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Dingus. Weird stuff. The Dryads, or sorry, the Jezzail's immediately going to open up on the Branch Wraith, which is the right call, absolutely. And likewise, the Mortars going after the Dryads. They don't have a ton of HP for their costs, so they're going to get pretty quickly shredded here. Nice thing about Glade Guard is, though, they'll fire while advancing. Kind of a good and bad thing, to be honest, because they will get some damage. Was there actually 2 Jezzails here? Yeah, I missed 1 Jezzail and 2 Jezzails. With the Howling Warp Gale, this is going to be a pretty good kind of guess counter build from Guac. He's able to get these range tools to deal. I mean, it's a pretty strange pick, I'll be honest, because Howling Warp Gale and these ranged units are pretty prevalent in this matchup. Breath Attack now hitting the Mortars doesn't do a whole lot of damage, unfortunately. That was... A lot of the missiles didn't actually make contact there, but yeah, this Skaven ranged fire just decimating these dragons right now. The Dryads are going to get into combat, and they'll win some engagements. It's going to take them a while, though, and with the attrition damage of the Mortars still peppering in and hitting all of these different units, it's going to be a big problem. Dragons finally drop down. One of them's going to get some healing, and the Blade Guard's also focusing. They do finally get rid of these Mortars. They're at least terrified for the time being. Yeah, the Branch Wraith doesn't have a fast burst regrowth heal, so I don't know if he can really salvage these dragons at this point. Yeah, Aaron hitting a little bit over aggressive here. Ixchis Triads also providing that Weeping Blade and some nice anti-large damage. Scorch also didn't do a whole lot there. Gracier's rolling over though. He's got some Skaven summons. He's gonna push them up in the front line. Wood Elves do have this Waystalker still firing, and the Dragon does come back from route, so that's pretty decent. Not fully gone, at least that one. But Glady also just sitting here and shooting, which is, I guess, helpful, but I'm just really kind of questioning. Yeah, the arrows of Kurnos, a lot of the breath attacks and so on, just really haven't been very favorable, and that because of the Howling Warp Gale, the Dragons have not been able to operate at all. Dryads coming in doing okay, but the melee fight's not even really going to go in the Wood Elves' favor, so they're on the back foot already, even though the balance power is still pretty even. I think that's maybe slightly falsely inflated. Nice little miscast there. Unlike Tempest, though, because Tempest can only be used while units are in the air, Howling Warp Gale, unlike that, can be used while they're actually on the ground, and that does pin in the Forest Dragon there. A nice surround with the Rat Ogres. The Glady is now doing the snipe attempt on the Gracier, though. Prey of Anathrema pop there. All of the Glade Guards firing in, understanding they need to do something to get back in this game here. So without the Gracier, the leadership of the Skaven will decrease significantly. That being said, the terror of the Dragons is gone, so kind of the true edge that would give you in getting easy terror routes all over the field is unfortunately gone because the Dragons had taken so much damage there. But at the same time, this Skaven line is pretty well disrupted. Maybe these Glade Guards can kite and fight the rest of this out to a degree, but the numbers game is not necessarily in their favor. Rival Hide Talisman being used here, the Assassin going after the Branch Wraith. Branch Wraith punches back okay, though, and considering that she does magic damage, he relies almost entirely on his physical resistance, the Assassin does. It's not going to be great, but a very nice Doppelganger summon there from the Ixchus Triads to block all these units, screen out for the Assassin. Likewise, the actual Triads do get through as well, and now with the Branch Wraith being overextended away from the Dryad support, this is a very dangerous situation. She immediately, Assassin's Trophy, down to only 30 armor and probably going to get routed there. Does manage to get a Shield of Thorns off in time. Gives some extra physical resistance and weapon strength to these Dryads as they fight. And she might be able to get away, but I think the Assassin's fast enough to just chase her off at this point. Glady in relatively decent health, but now, being a foot character, is now going to get surrounded by Rat Ogres. Let's see, is her stats good enough to just win here, maybe? I don't know. I think as she gets surrounded, she'll just get stagger locked like this. So, wild build from the Wood Elves, very interesting, but it ended up kind of falling apart to this more conventional Guac army. The double Jezzail's a pretty... it's a risky pick in some ways, but at the same time, they actually have Silver Missile block chance, so in like a counter-ranged exchange against something like, I don't know, Way Watchers, or even any Wood Elf range units, right? Actually, they trade okay because of that missile block chance. Still not necessarily great against like Way Watchers. Way Watchers just have way more burst. But as it currently stands, Glady is going to throw another Arrows of Kurnos there. She managed to beat those Rat Ogres eventually, somehow. Maybe the Eternal Guard came in and cleaned them out. Not sure there, but yeah, that Warlock Engineer on his last legs, and he is the main Skaven leadership besides the Assassin, which I can't see if the Assassin's even still here, to be honest. Oh yeah, he's over there, that's right, chasing off the Branch Wraith. So, getting rid of these two heroes would maybe get Aaron back in the game, but at this point, there's just too little HP left. Mortars and Jezzail's still online on the hill. And yeah, that's army losses right there. What's up, Maximus? Welcome. First game of the semifinals of this particular round goes to Walk there. Very solid Skaven play. Yeah, just the weapons teams and the Howling Warpgale is such a good spell. In a matchup where you could expect powerful flying units, which is basically like all of the elves, right? Potentially Empire, Bretonnia, you know, any faction where they might bring powerful flying units, Howling Warpgale is a must in order to control them, and here that showed through in droves. I like Aaron's aggressiveness, going with the Dryad Vanguard there. You can see they did rack up quite a few kills, able to clean through a good amount of the Skaven army. But the forest dragons, I think, maybe just needed to hang back until the rest of the army got in range. It's tough to say. It was a little bit of a wild pick regardless, but fun. Definitely a fun one. What am I expecting from the rest of the series? I honestly couldn't tell you. These are two players that I haven't seen play a ton. I know Guac, we've been watching him a little bit today, and Guac's brought some interesting builds that I've been big fans of. Things that have like directed synergies, or maybe some units or strategies you might not expect. Like, he had a game against Coast where if you go back and watch, after this is done obviously, you can go back and watch the early round games. Guac had one Skaven versus Vampire Coast where he just brought the rain of pebbles down on the Vampire Coast and killed all the zombies. It was beautiful. Yep, it's been good stuff all the way through. So let me get some more music pulled up so I don't have to exhaust my voice too much. No, not finals, not quite. We're on the last of the semis. Finals coming up in one, maybe two more games. Let's see. See if Aaron can bring it back here. Guac's out for blood today. Keep in mind, though, waiting on the other side of the bracket is a force of nature in Crabling. Yeah. Dang, it's already 5 o'clock, though. We've been going for a while today, guys. Big thanks to all the participants, everyone who joined. It's been quite a time. In the future, we were talking about, and I'm curious to get you guys who are on stream, especially those of you guys who played today. We were looking at some ideas to reduce the length of this, because, like, it ended up being quite a long event, and it could have been longer. Actually, all things considered, it ran very, very smoothly, and I'm pretty happy with that. But just in general, I mean, it seems like we maybe need to put a hard cap on the number of people, or else I maybe break it up into 2 days to where I know it's hard for people to chunk 2 days out, but basically it would be like the initial rounds are day 1, like Saturday, and then the finals, the quarterfinals on, probably maybe semis on would be on day 2 on Sunday. If we wanted to keep it open to just as many people as want to join. But considering this is kind of an ongoing process going forward, I'm curious to get your guys' input. Would you rather we just put a hard cap on the number of people that can join, break it up over 2 days? What do you think? 1 game for the first couple rounds? Yeah. At the same time, though, like, today, that would have cost some players the ability to even get up in, because there were some good 2-1s on the first round, right? That's the kind of the problem. Like, looking at the bracket, round 1 and 2 had quite a few, like, very good matchups that just happened, like, by chance. Like I was saying earlier, Fistek and Felcon managed to match each other. Like, Romulan Dog Central Scrutinizer had a 2-1. Yeah, Felcon Fistek had a 2-1. Chosen of the North and Green One had 2-1, right? So there were quite a few good ones in the early rounds, and in round 2 as well. Showtime versus Void Lols, like, some matchups that I would potentially like for them to be able to scrap, you know? I don't know. Noob for Life, Happy Puppy was a good one too. Crabling versus Pugno. Yeah, Crabling, to get to his place in the leaderboard, has had to go through some very intense matches. We also casted one of his early rounds before against Loopy. It was excellent. Best of ones makes the most sense. Yeah, and we are hosting this, like, so basically, like, myself and Arrow and I need to talk to my son as well about having his qualifier. And yeah, Turin also to use like the community system that we have on Challenge, because we have like a Warhammer community that myself and Arrow have been using for our tournaments to get like some data, you know, already, and that's what we used for this. It's just there were so many new people who've never played before. But assuming that we get a lot of good data from this one, from the next one, you know, from Arrows, and continue to use this same community, Challenge has a way built in where you can get ratings, right, and so on. So yeah, blocker. Oh, thanks, Turin. Yeah, I'm still waiting for these guys to load, but I appreciate thoughts, you know. Also, I'm going to try and mess with this a little bit more. Yes, is that better? No, not really. Whatever, it's just going to be off. That's fine. It's going to bother me. Looks fine. There we go, that's a little bit better. Okay. Yeah, I'm very, very grateful that Creative Assembly was willing to do this. Credit to Turin, too, of course. Yeah, it was just, it kind of all happened at, yeah, it happened pretty fast this time around, and there was a lot of kind of last-minute changes, so even the next few qualifiers should run smoother than today. But all things considered, I think today was pretty, or at least from my perspective, things ran very smoothly. Like, I couldn't have asked for better, to be honest. So, thank you guys. Right? I'll do the same thing to Turin, though, like throw him a donation for the screen blocker. Yep. So, for Guac's build, we've got Salon Life Mage, Ancient Stegodon here, Saurus Warriors with shields, Skink Cohort with javelins, Horned Ones. Horned Ones. What? Horned Ones. Okay, against Greenskins. Interesting. This is what I'm saying. Guac comes in with these wild builds. Horned Ones are not a unit that I would think to use much, if at all, but maybe this is a matchup. We'll see. Got some Wolf Rider Archers, Night Gobbos. Yeah, lots of Gobbo Infantry. Couple Gobbo Archers, 2 Savage Orc Biggins, a Ragnarok Queen, Skarsnik, Troll Hag, and a Night Goblin Shaman. And that's it. Yeah, more Spider Riders over there. Interesting, though. I'm curious to see what he does with these Horned Ones. Ah, yeah. Yeah, well, considering how well things have gone so far, and like, yeah, I'm pretty confident that I'll get the opportunity to do this again, and definitely will have it kind of planned out beforehand. But it's, yeah, it's so far it's turned out quite well. Horned Ones here just kind of taking some fire. They don't take too much damage, all things considered, but the Death Creepers don't really have too much DPS there. But so far, Life Salon just kind of holding back. Fighters getting summoned up here to try and pressure the Skink line. Saurus are going to get engaged against Night Goblins. Actually, Night Goblins maybe trade okay there because of the poison. That helps debuff Saurus very high weapon strength. It can trade pretty efficiently, probably. But yeah, this Life Salon, the Battle Salon gets in here against these Savage Orc Biggins. Potentially a bad situation. Going to drop a quick banishment and get out of there on those Rusty Arrows, while the Horned Ones then charge in. First of the Bad Moon. Unfortunately, did not make good contact with the Horned Ones. It would have debuffed their armor significantly. Actually, did it make contact? No, it did not, unfortunately. The debuff is pretty good there, and the damage would have been okay against the Horned Ones. But as it is, they're going to get a pretty good engagement on the Savage Orc Biggins. Probably want to pull away after not too long. Feral Cold Ones being used to just chase those Death Creepers away, which is decently cost-effective. Horned Ones over here came in, got a decent engagement, broke those Gobbos. Now they're pulling up and around to try and fight Savage Orc Biggins. Saurus pushing back to the back line to get those Night Goblin archers, the rusty arrows getting pounded already is a pretty big deal. The armor sundering would be very helpful against this Ancient Stegodon here. Ancient Stegodon charges in, using that massive 70 charge bonus to get some good damage, but the Arachnarok Spider now gets the Wah and some decent support as well. The River Troll Hag looks like she's trying to get in the fight. She keeps getting staggered as she gets in there. She's a bit of a thick lady. But nice charge in with the Horned Ones, kind of almost using them like, I don't know, like questing knights, or trying to think of a good analog. More elite cavalry, I guess, almost like Demigryph knights or Dragon Princes, like an expensive heavy cavalry hits hard against the Greenskins, and I kind of see that right there. Nice charge on those Savage Orc Biggins. The Saurus in support, excellent engagement. Assault of Stone going to get dropped on these Chameleons. See if they get out of dodge. It looks like they are going to take that damage. It's not going to do too much, a pretty decent amount. But considering that's a one-time use, that's not the worst in the world. That's maybe like 300 points worth of value, if that. Skarsnik, though, still fighting. I haven't seen... It does look like he brought the fungi. I mean, the melee defense component of the fungi is very good, but Lizardmen, if there's a faction that you shouldn't bring the fungi against, it's Lizardmen, because they can counter it with cold-blooded. But another Curse of the Bad Moon there hits those Saurus Warriors. Skarsnik, though, is at risk of getting Terror Routed here, and he does get Terror Routed. Balance Power still very close. Barely, if anything, in the Lizardmen's favor, but a lot of these Greenskins troops can come back here. You can see the Feral Cold Ones eventually losing out to the Death's Creepers there, but it's been a journey all of their own. Chameleon Skinks getting some good return fire, and the Saurus are kind of starting to run out of steam a little bit. There's a couple of units here minorly healthy. But likewise, the Greenskins infantry is pretty trashed as well. It's been a pretty atrocious battle on that front. Thing about it is, of course, the Life Slon can sustain this attack, at least in terms of single entities, and everything else, like the healing, will potentially be the determining factor as we move into the late game. The Horned Ones, though, nice engagement here on the Night Goblins in the forest. Biggins are immediately in support, though, but you see the mass of the Horned Ones, they're able to push through pretty effectively, still countercharge those Wolf Riders, and they might rout all 3 units. That's very impressive. Yeah, underrated unit Horned Ones, maybe? Should probably save this replay specifically for that, but yeah, I like the use of the Horned Ones here. Skarsnik also very, very low. The Shaman's getting routed off, the Spider. The leadership is an issue, and I think that's army losses. Wow. Wow. Horned Ones. Who would have thought? Horned Ones. I like it a lot. Fun build. Yes, you can negate the Rampage. You can negate any Rampage, whether that's the Witch Elves, whether that's the Fermented Fungi. You can negate all of the Rampages with Cold-Blooded. Makes Lizardmen specifically very good against those type of effects. And yeah, we saw it there. The Slon was able to get some enrages down in the late game with that fungi. And I guess if they don't have too many characters, like in this situation, GG. Yeah, man, great game to both players. That was awesome. So Guac's gonna take the series then, 2-0. Wild pick. Thanks for playing. Horned Ones too horny. That was not the correct spelling of horny, but that's fine. So yeah, we'll now get it hosted for Guac and for Crabling. I'm gonna go ahead and just host as a spectator. So give me just a second, guys. Let's get this. Well, we'll go to the bracket. Whoops, there it is. So Guac moves on to face the mighty Crabling in the final. Let's see who can come out on top this time. Yeah, I'm going to have to experiment with Horned Ones in general. I had some ideas that, yeah, like a Lore of Life Slon plus Horned Ones could kind of function in a similar way to Elite Cavalry with healing, like Bretonnia or High Elves, you know, other factions, which does work pretty well in certain matchups. And Greenskins is one where the shock damage, the mass is pretty important. But it looks like I won't have to spectate. Actually, they've got one up. And I can go ahead and join here. Excellent. So here we are in the final. Go ahead and thank Aaron once again. Where's he at? Down here. And now switch Guac over to the other side. Get Crabling back up. Oh, Crabling was actually on that side already, but that's fine. So that they're on the appropriate sides of the scoreboard, according to their position in the lobby, and reset the scoreboard as well. So this is the final. Welcome, welcome, guys. One of these two will be my representative, the South Sea champion at the Everchosen Invitational, the next Everchosen Invitational. Yeah, so give it up for these two. Big round of applause to Guac and Crabling for both getting this far out of literally 110 people. These two have risen to the top through battle, through scrap, through, you know, shooting and charging and all of the things that entails. Here we are in the final. Welcome. Let's get the good old Warzag screen blocker back up. Turn coming in with the big 20. Big thanks, man. It is time. Yes, it is time. Warzag's final jig. And yeah, let's get an appropriate, here we go. This is an appropriate track for this moment. Oh yeah. ITO versus VM in terms of clans. Let's see how it goes. Guac has been playing wild this whole time. Just like he came in with Tehenuin, he came in, you know, with horned ones. He's been coming in sideways with a steel chair, flipped upside down, you know, like... He's been coming in with the wild, wild stuff. And now Crabling has a chance to test his mettle. Crabling, obviously, very strong and experienced player. Man, I remember watching Crabling play in, like, the OG, some of my OG stuff I was casting right around the turn of, like, Game 1 to Game 2. Like, late stage Game 1, early Game 2. I remember Crabling. I remember that name. And he's just been consistent throughout. Very strong player. So, definitely a vet. And we'll see who comes out on top here. Thanks, Warzag. Didn't need you up for too long. There it is. Yes. Yes, yes. What will happen? So Tower of Hoeth is the Game 1 map. And we'll start with the Skaven. Crabling now with Deathmaster Snitch. Very appropriate. We've been seeing him a lot today. Very strong lord. Super competitive. That scaling damage hits very hard. It's Avalanche Mortars. Fun pick. They are by far the most expensive weapon team, but they'll delete a lot of stuff. And against Bretonnia, potentially just wrecking archers with Cav. There's a lot of things they can go after. Plague Priest. Got some Rat Ogres as well. A couple of Warp Lightning Cannons in a box of Spears. You can see how he's got the Clan Rat Spears facing in the back line. The front line, funny enough, Skaven Slayer Spears don't have bracing bonus, but what he can do is attack forward with them, and then like this, use the Rat Ogres for mass to kind of countercharge. Very good stuff. Yeah, Crabling. Yeah, we've been watching Crabling, who plays a lot of Skaven. Hey, Duck, thanks, man. So generous as always. My pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure, man. This has probably been the best tournament I've ever casted. From my own perspective, I'm going to go ahead and say that. Definitely the longest, but we've had so much fantastic action today. I'm loving it. Well, thank you guys. Credit to you. Definitely 300 people, probably a personal record for me in terms of concurrent viewers. We were up to like 350 at one point, so it's a team effort. Definitely a team effort. Anyway, Bretonnia, got Faenchantress, very solid pick here with her magic resistance, couple paladins. Battle Pilgrims are also decent. I'm not the biggest fan of them as a unit in general, but they're okay if this is a matchup where you can definitely make them work. Knights of the Realm here for Guac. Yeah, Knights Errant up front. Pretty standard stuff overall. One thing in this matchup in particular, I found, granted, Crabling does have the Warp Lightning Cannons, which would somewhat negate this, but the Trebuchets can be really nice for thinning out weapons teams, and just Skaven infantry in general, like Storm Vermin with halberds, for example. It's often not expected for you to have a counter artillery build, and in that case, you know, you have your knights, like here as well, even though they do have Warp Lightning Cannons, which could, in theory, yes, counter Trebuchets. They're like almost twice the cost of Trebuchets, though, like not quite, but pretty close to twice the cost of Trebuchets. And yeah, the Warp Lightning Cannons, if they're shooting their Trebuchets, they're not shooting your cavalry, which is very good for you as Bretonnia. So either way, I'm a fan of like 2 Trebuchets, probably a good idea. I don't know that you'd really want to go with more than that, but like 1 to 2 Trebuchets is definitely a great idea here. Right now, the Avalanche Mortars are shooting at the Holy Wardens, I would imagine. Nope, yep, they're kind of spreading damage around a little bit. Hit those Battle Pilgrims, now going after the Holy Wardens. The Cavalry are staying well back for Guac, aware of the Warp Lightning Cannon danger. Over on this other side, he can kind of use the woods a little bit, some of this cover. There's like a little bit of undulating terrain here, these kind of haggard, tattered patches of trees. But Deathmaster Snicht reveals himself once the lady gets close, and she realizes she can't necessarily just jump in here. She is pretty tanky, all things considered, basically having effective damage resistance. While Blessing of the Lady is active, and or Guardian as well. They can definitely be additive, but you see how the bows come forward here? They're going to start to pepper the Avalanche Mortars. Avalanche Mortars do have 70 armor, a bit of HP per model as well. They're not going to instantly die here, but not too bad. If there aren't 8 Trebuchets, it's not a proper build. Yeah, there we go. Here we go. The bows firing in, nice. Counterfire, mortars making their presence felt, but as it is, this is a very expensive unit for the Skaven to be getting killed pretty quickly. All of this time also means, though, that the Skaven, or the bowmen, the peasant bowmen, are not focusing the Plague Priest, which is super important. This big hero fight also going down. Snitch actually bails out of there. I'm not 100% sure why. I guess the Fae plus 2 Paladins, maybe all 3 together beat Snitch, although he might get enough damage on the Fae to be worth it. Maybe not, I don't know. But some nice healing sustained there for Bretonnia. Oh man, those Rat Ogres taking a lot of damage too, as the Deathmaster Sigil has been popped. Snitch jumps back in, but at this point the Paladins are doing their duty to the lady and blocking Foul Snitch from getting too clean of a contact on the Faenchantress. She also does magic damage and has a really nice charge bonus. What, like 70 charge bonus? 74 charge? So as she cycle charges Snitch, she'll actually do really effective damage to him. Yeah, the Warp Lightning Cannons still being online is a pretty big deal. The Cav hasn't really been able to play too much of a factor, just now kind of getting involved in this front line, and even still having taken a significant amount of damage. They'll summon Plague Monks. Peasant Mob did a good job kind of blocking them in the back, but a lot of the Peasant Archers are shut down on their first or second route, so they could go down here. Snitch, likewise, finally starts to turn this engagement around, and the Faenchantress, the Plague Priest, kind of tanking out a lot of the damage for Snitch, and he's now able to finish off one of the Paladins. Pretty big for him as well, although the Plague Priest might go down, and again, if the Faenchantress can cycle charge Snitch here, as long as she doesn't get Deathmaster Sigiled and killed too quickly, then she can do okay. She can definitely do okay. The damage resistance, I would think, because of the percentage scaling that she gets from the Blessing of the Lady, plus the magic resistance that she has, will be good against the scaling damage, I would think, of Snitch, in that it's percentage based, but she still, oh yeah, doesn't want to take too many hits there, but it looks like she actually gets a solid hit on Snitch. He's going to pop his Deathmaster Sigil, but that was already cast when he routed, and now the Faenchantress can chase him off, which is a huge turn of events. Still, the Paladin's probably going to get blasted by the Warp Lightning Cannons, but that magic resistance, that heavy magic resistance means the Fey Enchantress will not get hit too hard by the Warp Lightning Cannons at all. Will it be enough in terms of army, though? The Bretonnian Cavalry getting very thin at this point, other than this one unit of Knights of the Realm that's relatively healthy. Avalanche Mortars also still somehow online with 8 of their unit models, so all that fire the peasants poured into them hasn't mattered yet. Maybe it will matter in a second, but Knights of the Realm still taking quite a bit of damage. They try and finish off the last of the rat mass here. These Knights of the Realm are trying also to get on the artillery, but finally it looks like they may get a clean sweep of these backline units. Ikit Zap basically shut down, but not quite. The cavalry kind of pulling out for another engagement, switching back with another unit. Things are looking pretty good for Bretonnia at this point. The Fey Enchantress, the fact she was able to get Snitch was huge here for Guac. And I'm a huge fan of the Fey Enchantress. Is secretly one of the best lords in the game. I say secretly, it's not really a secret to be honest, but Avalanche Mortar still getting effective fire on those peasant bows, trying to bring things back. But at this point, a lot of the power units of the Skaven are offline. All their powerful ranged units have been shut down. There's still just a handful of clan rats fighting, and they can be drained out pretty well by the Phase Mortis effect. Plague Priest did come back, though. He's back. He has the potential to get some more summons in here, utilize his Winds of Magic a little bit to try and stabilize things, but things are looking very grim for the Skaven. Oh man, Fey Enchantress is secretly a counter for Snitch. In Bretonnia, a girl murders the assassin. Yes. In Bretonnia, the paladin is in distress, and the damsel saves her. Saves him, I mean. Oh, yeah, beautiful. Forza lady. Congrats, Guac. Ah, nicely done there. Beautiful Bretonnia performance. Well played to Crabling as well. Look at that, 234 kills on the Avalanche Mortars. Oh man, they basically prevented the archers and the battle pilgrims from being too big of a factor. Yeah, a Snitch though getting gooned out by the Fey Enchantress. That kind of single entity fight ended up favoring Guac here mainly because the paladins kind of counter the Plague Priest, and the Fey Enchantress kind of counters Snitch. And Snitch, do you guys see? GG, very well played to both, but I will say there's something about this character squad that is different from how you would normally see it. Can anyone tell me what it's missing? It is, as I update the scoreboard, there's no assassin buddy, right? A Snitch almost never leaves his home without the assassin buddy, and I think that could have been enough to potentially swing things to where this second paladin goes down, and then the Fey Enchantress could have maybe got right there, but that's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts. The game played out how it did. Very well played to both, and Guac takes a win there. Whoop. Okay, Crabling bowed out to give the host to Guac, and the game might have crashed. Might need to rehost. 134 kills on Knights of the Realm. Yeah, Knights of the Realm ended up coming in. The fact that he kept them back, and this is something that I see a lot of new players not do, which is to keep the Knights and other power units like back out of range while the rest of your army advances, right? So they're not getting blasted by the Warp Lightning Cannon the whole time. Like, if they have some mobile attack units, like let's say they have a Doom Wheel or something that they're going to run shop on your infantry with, then maybe you'd want to keep at least one unit of Knights close by to countercharge in there. But Crabling didn't have a Doom Wheel, which may have also been a good tool to have here. In your name. Yeah. Forza lady from Shetland, big thanks, man, for the $5. Generous as always. True veteran Shetland. We all owe a thanks to Shetland and Pippington as well for developing the Warhammer Cup rules, which is what Aerocrastic's banner rules are based on. Definitely did a lot in the sort of dark ages of the community, if you will, in terms of, yeah, getting this going. So this is also a shout out to you, Shetland and Pippington, for your guys' hard work over the years. That's how humans fought in medieval ages. Knights were in reserve. Makes sense? We'll get Crabling back in here. Just a second. We'll start up the music and some Dance and Warzag. Again. Here we go. Dance and Warzag. Cool. Oh, good stuff. Crabling right back in it. The lobby switching sometimes can cause some crashes, but... So, cool. I'll let them get their faction picks and everything locked in. Not the dancing Warzak again, right? Big thanks, Wicked. You're the best. Got almost, yeah... That's for me, like 260 people watching, almost 270. That's great. Big thanks, guys. Again, sticking with it. This has been a long day, but my watch time after today is going to be ridiculous, probably, because everyone's been watching for so long. And also, people will go back and watch these. I got to do some timestamps, which is going to take me a minute, but yes. Inferior PCs flee from Guok's insanely terrifying offensive, right? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that was a really good match, man. That was a really good back and forth match. The Enchantress, her just stepping on Snitch after all that we've seen him do in my recent, not only on this tournament, but in a lot of my recent streams too on King of the Hills, Snitch has been a terror in the night. Just an oppressor of the people. So the Enchantress just striking him down for liberty is a beautiful play. Been watching from the start. Yeah, Nurse Sultan, you've been here. I've had quite a few in the whole time. It's been a day, guys. I tell you what. I've got a giant smile on my face. I don't know if you can tell. Intensity, thrills, oopsets. Is that what ITO stands for? Oh. Guok too. The fact that he's here in this finals, it makes me happy considering his builds. I'm a little biased to weird and kind of off-kilter builds, I'll admit. If you want to win my heart, that's the way to do it. How is he still dancing? Man, he's still dancing if I'm still casting. It's terribly obscure. Okay, interesting. Okay, I get it. Maybe. Alright, game 2 of the finals. Looks like we're gonna have Greenskins versus Dark Elves. Ah, okay. Oh, let's see what he's got, though. I'm curious to see. Greenskins versus Dark Elves is an interesting one. Dark Elves can do a lot to the Greenskins, but the Greenskins can do a lot of the Dark Elves. I'd call it relatively even. It's less linear now than it used to be because of some of the changes. like, Doom Divers aren't as much of an auto-include like 1 or 2. I still think probably 1 or 2 is a good idea in case they do bring a Power Flying Lord. Very good anti-air specialists, and Marathi up in the air, or Malekith probably not as likely anymore, considering you can kind of get away with doing some stuff. Doing some fungi stuff, I should say. Making him enrage onto the ground. Same thing with Marathi up in the air, so a lot of people have stopped bringing air units in this matchup. As a result, a lot of people have also stopped bringing Doom Divers in this matchup. Dark Elves can struggle. The thing that makes the Dark Elves struggle here is something I've talked a bit about today, is Elves having low HP. The Dark Elves not having, you know, any directed healing. They kind of have only self-healing sources, you know, very selfish, very Dark Elf-like. Yeah, they're gonna do it. Medusa's, I don't know, they just get outmatched by Greenskins' mobility. This is a kite, though. Okay, so it's a kite from Crabling. He's got Malekith. He did bring Malekith in the air, although I don't think there are any Doom Divers for the Greenskins. We'll take a look in just a second. But a couple Scourge Runners, plenty of Black Arc Corsair handbows, just throwing it in Zerkovic's face. Cold One Knights, Slanesh's Harvesters. Yeah, that's a joke, guys. Orc Boys, Orc Air Boys. Some nasty Skulkers here, Forest Goblin Spider Riders, Spider Rider Archers, and yeah, Mangy Marauders. The Swamp Things, that's neat. Cheapest Terror unit the Greenskins have access to are the Swamp Things, and they're not Stone Trolls, they're River Trolls, which is just fantastic. Speaking of River Trolls, we've got a Hag here, Gobbo Big Boss, and Skarsnik. He does have Skarsnik to be able to enrage Malekith onto the ground, but there's no Doom Diver to force that, like, basically guaranteed. He can do it still, even with these Mangy Marauders and other Skirmish Cav options. And even if when Malekith comes to the ground, pop that fungi on him, get some good damage, and he'll get locked on the ground for a decent amount of time. So, yeah. The Swamp Things, yes, I'm a fan. I think these guys are pretty underutilized. Their Terror for 1,200 points is... I mean, there are some monsters that are below this, like obviously Manticores, you know, like the Scorpion. There's a few others, right? Kind of in the range of what you would expect for Terror units, but it's towards the cheaper end. They also, the fact that they cause Terror means that they can't get Terror routed, so you don't have to have them with a Bob to make them immune to Psychology. They are Trolls that are immune to Psychology baseline, right? Which is really nice. Still not the best leadership in the world, but 63, you know, with all the flank support modifiers and everything at the start there. Not bad at all. So Spider Riders pull up, and they're going to start to do some counter-skirmishing here, but they need to be careful as they're a small amount of the mobile force, right? And the mobility will need to be preserved here to a large degree by Guak. He's going to have to play this pretty patiently. But it looks like Spirit Leech Overcast on those Ravagers of Rakarth just starting to chew away some of the unit models of the Scourge Runners. The Ravagers in particular, pretty expensive. So nice little Frost spell there to apply some Frostbite to the Mangy Marauders and other units as they try and pull away from the Black Arc Corsairs. It looks like the Slanesh's Harvester is getting really aggressive, though, going in on a charge here. They're going to get counter-charged by Spider Riders, and might also get smoke bombed here by Nasty Skulkers. They have definitely got to get out of there. It won't be a cost-effective engagement for them. Nice Soul Stealer. Is that for the Slanesh's Harvesters? I guess to heal them up a little bit. They got some contact on some light cav units, but probably not the most in terms of value. But Swamp Thing's pushing through now. It looks like a few of the models of the Slanesh's Harvesters are caught up. That smoke bomb was pressed, but it didn't actually get them, unfortunately, because the center mass of the unit was actually over here. Flag not really following the center mass of the unit, unfortunately, because the model that it's on is getting kind of caught up there. But Malekith getting a pretty decent breath attack, picking away some of the Spider Riders. Crabling understanding that from like a win condition perspective, he has to take out the Spider Riders in order for his skirmish units to be able to function, but as it is right now, the Swamp Things are already causing some problems. They're fast enough to catch these Corsair handbows, and they absolutely will stomp them with their armor-piercing damage. And yeah, as a result, looks like the Slaanesh Harvester is going to dive back in. Malekith also might drop for a charge here real quick, and it looks like the Swamp Things and others are trying to pull back. These Skulkers, they do not have their Smoke Bomb online, so there's no control ability there, but Cold One Knights do collapse on this flank pretty aggressively, start to take out some of these Orc Error Boys. The Mangy Marauders are on station to get some very effective counterfire, and Chevron Cold One Knights are going to be extremely expensive for their model count. But a nice Soul Stealer here. This might be enough to finish off the Swamp Thing's leadership. They are just teetering on the edge right now, and actually do manage to stabilize somewhat there as their terror kicks in, terrifies away the Slaanesh Harvesters. Apparently, you know, Slaanesh Harvesters, they've seen some things, but they haven't seen anything like these River Trolls. I mean, they are absolutely disgusting. And yeah, the Greenskins kind of pushing back a little bit here on some of the cav attempts to disrupt and everything, but Swamp Things actually, Malekith's getting a pretty good engagement on them. They're still 12 unit models somehow, and a very timely Fermented Fungi. Guac holding on to that for a very good amount of time, and now only using it when it seemed like Malekith could potentially escape. But the Cold One Knights, very nice side charge here. They may be able to finish the Swamp Things, and look at the damage on that charge. Yeah, they actually have now dropped 4 models since we checked in with them last. Getting rid of that terror unit will be very important, and the mass as well. Does look like the Swamp Things are going to rout. They might be able to get some regeneration done and come back in. But Scourge Runners starting to run low on ammo. They're just about out. In fact, when they do run out, that's going to be a big deal. Malekith also getting routed here by the Hero Squad. Skarsnik, of course, anti-large armor piercing, a great combatant. The Big Boss and the River Troll Hag also contributing nicely there. And Malekith is routed. That is huge. Potentially disastrous for the Dark Elves. This big presence of Orc Air Boys still online too, with the Skirmish Cav kind of providing some mass protection, so the Chariots don't just completely run through. But the Troll Hag managed to rout that and clear out some of these Spider Riders. Skarsnik all of a sudden seems kind of alone. Malekith is back. Crabling absolutely not out of this yet. And yeah, these Chariots coming in and pressuring, getting some nice magic effects to get good AoE damage there is pretty good. This definitely need to be used aggressively in melee, but the Swamp Things are back! Maybe. They were back. Yeah, they're back. Okay, they got some attacks there on those Scourge Runners, able to kind of keep them from fully bowling over all of these ranged units, and it looks like the Troll Hag also coming back. So yeah. Crabling having a push back there, but things quickly avalanching against him. As Guac's army is doing a thing. I'm not dropping frames, right? Everything looks good? Okay. Is the stream potatoing for you guys right now? By the way, can you let me know in the chat if it's going full-on screenshot mode? Because right now my YouTube backend is giving me some errors. But anyway, looks like the Greenskins are on the cleanup phase at this point. Taking out these Cold One Knights pretty decisively. Yeah, the kiting Greenskins is tough. You can do it. I think other factions can do it a little bit better here, but oh man, the other fungi goes off and pulls Malekith down onto the ground. I think probably the builds I've seen recently of Dark Elves doing best against Greenskins, you actually go for a ground blob, right? Like you go for the Marathi kind of degenerate death blob on foot, because that way you're stacking the stats in your favor so you can actually win melee engagements. Helibron's also not a terrible pick in this matchup, believe it or not, if you can use her well. She's pretty squishy, but her attack buff is pretty nice for big timing pushes on the Greenskins. Some stuttering in the sound. Yeah. I mean, the in-game FPS is actually fine, and I'm not showing any dropped frames on OBS. I feel like YouTube was having an issue there. But yeah, okay, I think it looks like it's stabilized. Sorry about that, guys. We're back now. Guac goes up 2-0 here with another solid win. Greenskins over the Dark Elves. It's a tough draw for Dark Elves, but like I said, the most effective builds I've seen of late have been degenerate Marathi blob builds on foot, which is still not even necessarily recipe for success, but GG. Very good game. Yeah, let's see if he can take it all the way to the Everchosen. So far, he's up 2-0, but that's why they play the games. Or that's why we play the games, rather. For Dance and Warzag. And also, to determine who is the true South Sea champion. A little bit more Dance and Warzag. Yeah. This may be the last dance, but perhaps not. Crabling going high elves here, and looking like this is, yeah. We'll see what he drops in terms of his picks and bans and everything, but definitely thinking about going high elves. I think actually course handbows are pretty good. Yeah, I think they're actually pretty good. I kind of made a joke there about, I think Zerkovic made a video recently where he said they were really bad by having them fight in melee against low-tier infantry, which, I mean, I guess there's some value in that test, but I tend not to base a lot of stock on that kind of raw testing, because that's not how the game works in practice. And in practice, Corsair handbows, they could use with a little bit of a buff, and the buff I would give them is actually just to give them loose formation, like what, you know, most other kind of Vanguard sort of fast range units, you know, 360 shooting have, right? Like you look at, like, obviously Way Watchers, Deepwood Scouts, Shadow Warriors, all of them have loose formation. Because the Corsairs have tight formation, they have a really hard time shooting anything directly to the side of them. And just in general, the 360 shooting doesn't function as well as it should because they're not in loose formation. So honestly, both melee Corsairs, to be honest, and handbow Corsairs, if you just gave them loose formation, I think that'd be a pretty good buff for both. Yeah, I also wouldn't necessarily recommend only them as a front line. Greenskins do have the mobility to cut them down, but I actually like them in a few matchups. This is one where you definitely could have taken them. Or he did take them, obviously, but yeah. Interesting. ITO here, potentially gonna be representing at the Everchosen Invitational. Crabling going high elves. Bans Norska. Oh, he goes, I think it's pick 3 ban, right? Oh no, it's not tiebreaker game, that's right. It's still just back and forth with the pick double bans, I forget. We're in a best of 5. This might be the last game, but it's not guaranteed. But Guac actually going with Skaven there against High Elves. It's good counter pick. Skaven have a pretty good matchup here. High Elves also can do some things. Lithnar's not as good as he used to be here because of Snitch's healing. Or not Snitch's healing, but just Snitch. Lithnar can Snitch can catch a Lithnar and kill him pretty consistently. Otherwise, before, Lithnar was a pretty good choice in this matchup, in my opinion, because you could use him to snipe artillery pieces and kind of keep him safe and back from the majority of the Skaven army, and kind of go with a counter-ranged type strategy with like Shadow Warriors and Lithnar, but it just doesn't work with Snitch on the fields. Like, a Lithnar will just die to him. But even still, like a heavy elf Vanguard, actually, with a lot of Shadow Warriors, Illyrian Reavers, and just really, like, immediately putting pressure on the Skaven and starting to pull them out of position. That can be a pretty viable playstyle. You know, there's other things you can do there. The Skaven also can do a few things. I mean, they can rush into High Elves to a degree, using, like, flares and doom wheels and such. Snitch is very good against all Elf Lords, because none of them really have a ton of HP. Even, like, Imric on the Dragon probably has the most, and even that's not a ton. Let's see what they can do, though. If anyone knows the ins and outs of Skaven, it's Crabling. Chris Fuller, I would definitely say, if you're new to multiplayer, I would check out the Noobhammer Discord. There should be, if you're in Turns Discord, there will be a link to it under the community section. You can find there the Noobhammer Discord. So a good friend of mine, longtime viewer of the channel, Zach Waite, has these organized practice sessions there, and just in general, you can find a lot of other newer players there and people helping newer players. So that's generally, I would say, if you wanted to get into multiplayer, like quick battles, you can learn some stuff there, and there's value in jumping into that. But probably getting in with real people who can actually coach you while also playing with you is definitely what I recommend. So check that out, the Noobhammer, or of course even Turns Discord as well. You can often find people hanging out playing games, get advice on different matchups, you know, practice, so on. Oh, yeah, sounds like a good time. There's a few clans, too. ITO, you know, XMT, of course. You've got quite a few, to be honest. And the clan, getting into a clan is also a good way to get some experience. Find some cool people to hang out with and play, like, on a consistent basis. Yeah, that's the thing. Yep, in quick battles, you'll face a lot of cheesy stuff. Exactly. Here we go. MP Heorot Ridge. Loading in Crabling versus Guac. Chris Fuller, hey, thanks for the $5, man. Check it out after work tomorrow, for sure. For sure. Thanks, man. Much appreciated.
Your name.
Yes, yes. Oh man, gotta wait for it to end. I can't cut this tune off early. Oh yeah. Oh, let it ride. There we go. All right. Man, that's such a banger. Just had to let it play out. You gotta let it play out. It's pretty played out, to be honest. But anyway, High Elves now. Can Crabling get it back? We've got him taking the High Elves here, and already I like what I see. 2 Lion Chariots with their missile resistance, anti-infantry, and AP. Great multi-use tool against the Skaven, and yeah, the fact they don't get killed by mortars is also a great thing. We've got Rangers scattered all around. 2 Frostheart Phoenixes plus Lariel all up in the air. Yeah, Guac's putting in work, man. Yeah, you're telling me he's been on a tear today. Silver Helms out on the flanks. Let's take a look at the Skaven build. Looks like Bell. Plague Furnace with Snitch and the Assassin. As we have seen many times, a very strong combination. He's got 2 mortars just for full spread dot effect. 1 Rattling Gun here in the center. A couple of Rat Ogres, 3 Rat Ogres, some Skaven Slave Spears, and a Hell Pit. The Hell Pit could be a good option here, especially given that Crabling didn't bring any ranged units. The Phoenixes will do decent against the Hell Pit, given that they have the bonus increase of fire damage. Obviously, Hell Pit being weak to fire, but it is an absolute meat bag. Alariel is also a flying meat bag, basically. She just heals everything. And I'd imagine that she's going to want to use her star primarily on the chariots. lion chariots that are kind of scattered around here. Is there actually 3? No, there's just the 2. Okay. Plus the silver helms pushing up as well. So they're going to be in range of these mortars very shortly. The mortar's not quite in range yet, but they like how they're kind of shifting up and around here. Potentially pressure from both sides. Yeah, and Snitch has been spotted. He didn't have his concealment bombs active. Might have actually trying to get him spotted there, just so he could pull him back, pop that concealment bombs, and reposition somewhere else. It looks like the mortars are starting to fire. The Silver Helm should be able to pretty easily dodge that volley, as it was kind of off in space a little bit, but the Ranger is starting to take some damage already. I'm concerned about the ability to deal with these Lion Chariots. Potentially, there's no Howling Warp Gale either to control the air units, as we have often seen with the Skaven today. But the mortars... Ooh, here comes the Flaming Phoenix Feces. They're going after the Rattling Guns, as the Rattling Guns are probably the biggest threat to them, but not making the best contact so far. Oh, yeah, a little bit of contact there. I mean, they do have 10 drops of it, which is pretty solid, but the High Elves are going to get into combat on the ground as well. Rattling Guns finally get one of them in their sights and just open up in the air. This is why they're pooping on them, because obviously the Rattling Guns are very scary for the Phoenixes, but Rat Ogres are actually in a perfect position to counter those chariots there. Chariots over on the other side now getting also countercharged by Rat Ogres, and the Plague Priest getting in combat, which definitely needs to be. This Hell Pit Abomination going to block up some of the charge of Crabling's Reavers, but they will hit home and engage those Rattling Guns. And now here come the Phoenixes and Alariel to start to deal with one of the units of mortars. Silver Helm's getting pushed back over here, though, and I didn't hear Deathmaster's Sigil go off, but it looks like, yeah, he is starting to run over here. There's the Deathmaster's Sigil, pinning Alariel in place, and she immediately pops the star, just sort of anticipating the massive amount of damage she's about to receive at the hands of Snitch here. Potentially caught in a very, very bad situation. You can see this Reavers, though, immediately ping-ponging and kind of getting into this fight, starting to break a lot of these units here. Silver Helms and the shock damage of the other cavalry here has been pretty significant. A lot of the weapons teams are offline. This one mortar still firing, though, is able to get a nice volley in here, hit those Silver Helms, start to deal a little bit of DPS, but the Chariots are mostly unaccounted for now. The Rat Ogres, this unit's been routed off here, so this Chariot can come through and continue to sweep weapons teams. Did Alariel just go down, though? Did I just straight up miss Alariel dying? Oh no, she's still alive. She's just fleeing for her dear life, which is fine. That is going to leave the two Phoenixes a little bit soloed in here. They're going to have to pull away. Not before terror routing those Rat Ogres, though, which is great. Snitch might come in and finish him off. We'll see. I don't know, with Snitch's scaling damage, if he gets the killing blow on these Phoenixes, I don't even know if they'll get a chance to get their rebirth proc, because they might just get killed straight up. I don't know how much the scaling damage can go up to. I need to familiarize myself with that mechanic a little bit. But the Lion Chariots pulling away now. There are still quite a few models online, 3 models online for both units. Very important as we move into the late game here, and the High Elves try and bring back balance of power. Illyrian Reavers also doing a great job, Silver Helms, cleaning up those Rat Ogres in the back line and also pressuring the rest of these weapons teams off the side of the map. But High Elves' HP situation's not looking great in general. Alariel is back, healing these Phoenixes again. They're going to push out here, get a nice terror route with the Silver Helms, continue to just sweep the Skaven. And yeah, the Summoned Clan Rats here doing okay. The Plague Priest, though, is going to be a problem. The Lion Chariots and the single entities could cycle charge it in theory. In practice, it may end up with the Hell Pit, plus Snitch and the Assassin, plus the Plague Priest. There might just be too much HP in terms of single entities for the High Elves to have to get through. Drop another healing aura there. It looks like, unfortunately, they're not able to stay in and take advantage of it for the most part. Looks like Alariel will fly into the healing effect, so that at the very least she's getting some of that. The Chariots are trying to push back in, but the Hell Pit is actually mostly blocking them. I don't know, one of the units might be getting hit by that. Looks like that one maybe was for a little bit of time there at least. Rival High Talisman being popped now on the Assassin though on this critical late game engagement. Most people would have popped that probably earlier on in the battle, but Guac doing a good job saving it until a very important point in the battle where he's got all these mobile units tied up in a big melee engagement. But look at this balance of power, claws back towards even for the High Elves as they stabilize here and start to deal some significant damage. Did any of the chariot models actually go down there? No, I don't think so. And with the healing, they got a decent amount of healing from the Earthbloods and other stuff. Even if the star wasn't necessarily the best contact. But more rat summons going to be used, so they'll be able to continue getting more support units here. And it looks like actually the Plague Monk being used here to do some extra damage, to have some extra leadership presence. Rat Ogres barely holding together. Likewise, the Hell Pit now, oh man, that Phoenix had a rough dive. Snitch and everything gets on top of it. Does get the healing proc. Snitch actually isn't able to finish it off. Okay, so I don't know if he actually got the final blow there, but it will rout, but it will definitely come back. The Chariots, same can't be said of them, as one of these units is now down to a single model left, not at nearly as much healing potential left. And not that there's much more healing that Alariel can do. Most of it has been poured into herself because she took all that damage. And here it goes again, Deathmaster's Sigil, the Assassin Snipe coming in. She is pinned at this point at her healing cap, and Snitch going for the killing blow here. I mean, he got struck down by the lady earlier, so he's a little fed up with high-tier female legendary lord healers. I don't know. He's still salty of getting killed by the Fae, but yeah. At this point, things are looking very grim for the High Elves. The healing procs have all been done, right? Like, the healing is mostly finished. Maybe a little bit more healing on these Lion Chariots that came back. There's 2 models there, 1 model there. We've also got these other Rangers and Silver Helms coming back, Lyrian Reavers even. They might be able to finish off these Rat Ogres, actually, and then it will be just single entities, right? For Skaven, I don't think so. Snitch is still so healthy. The Assassin's still so healthy. Chariot going down there. That one once again getting routed. Crabling doing his best to try and stabilize here, fighting for his life as Alariel jumps down, gets those Rat Ogres, continuing to pressure them off. Very nicely done there. And here we go. This is kind of the attempt. I mean, Phoenixes still have a decent amount of HP here. They're going to do some good damage to that Hell Pit Abomination. Another summon being popped, though. That Terror kicks in, and the Rangers can't stay in the fight. This one Phoenix is just about done, and they haven't done hardly any damage to Snitch. The Hell Pit Abomination also getting some slaps, and you see how the Phoenixes are kind of surrounded here. A really bad situation. One of them is done. That's probably army losses. Very quickly approaching as the other one takes significant damage here. Snitch kind of getting pushed around a little bit and bullied, but it is what it is. Yeah, I don't think even the Everlady can crump the Assassins here. I'm with you, Nursultan. Guac 3-0. Wow. What? Blow my mind, man. Crabling is... Crabling had some scraps today, I'll admit. He had some real tough matchups, but he was able to persevere and push through all the way to the final. But Guac, with the wild builds, man, this is a pretty meta build, I would say. But we've seen some wild out there builds from him throughout the day, but no mercy in the final, going straight for the throat with the Snitch. Master Assassin. Yeah, GG. Congratulations, Guac. Congratulations, man. Big ups to you. Round of applause from me. GG's, man. That was amazing. Great performance today. Oh, man. So, let's finalize the scoreboard then. It is, in fact, a 3-0. And no discredit to Crabling. Like I said, he played lights out even to be here. But if we go to the bracket, Guac is the South Sea champion officially. Congratulations, my friend. Guac. Thing is, when Guac won, when he beat Karl Franz with Tehenuin, I think that's when I knew. Like, I think that's when I knew that he had what it took. And to be honest, from the builds we saw today, I'm happy to have Guac representing me. So I'll be in touch with you, Guac, over Discord over the next few days. Just want to do a quick voice chat with you and kind of debrief on some things. Might bring in Turin as well, just to make sure I don't, mess anything up. But I'll be in touch with you in terms of the details of everything. But congratulations, man. Enjoy today. You earned it. Today is your day, absolutely. Out of literally like 115 people, I think it was, all said and done, you are the one that prevailed. So congratulations, sir. You are the champion. All the things. Yeah, actually, Guac, if you want to just shoot Turin a message real quick, yeah, that'll be it. So thank you all so much. I'm going to hop off here. I'm sweaty and gross. And yeah, I need a shower very badly. And I need to go like run 2 miles and do some other things. But thank you all so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. One of the best days I've had in a long time, I'm going to be honest. So thank you so much, Turin, CA, all the players, all the viewers, everyone. Like I've said, it was a team effort. So you guys are the best.